Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LightBringers Guild Wars 2 podcast, episode 22, I think. Yes, it will be 22. That's the one that it is now. I'm going to play Brickleback Hollow again because it's good. Today we're talking about loads of stuff, news in Guild Wars 2. We have a couple of different guests there as well to get some different points of view going across for the things and stuff. And yeah, there's loads of stuff. I hope everyone is all right in chat and you're having a good day wherever you are in the world. You will see our faces now. And if you're on audio, you will not see our faces ever. You will only be able to see our faces if you come and have a look at the video on YouTube or Twitch or live on a Friday afternoon Pacific, 12 p.m.-ish. That's when it kind of starts anyway. Ooh. That was a noise. Okay, so
I had to mute that real quick.
there we go.
Some motorcycles, it's a constant in my life.
It is. Okay, so hello, we have Loranity, Angry Zorik, and we have Kroof today, who's come back as well. All have been on the show before. We haven't seen Lara and we have not seen Zorik for a while. So how are we doing? Are we all good, people? I'll go. We'll do a little intro. How about that? Lara, hello. How are you? You good?
I am pretty good. I actually had a not so great week. I had a massive migraine, but I mostly recovered, and I'm just very glad to be here again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, for sure. Damn.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Having headaches is bad. What do you do? Where do you do it? Where can we find you? What times?
I do stream stuff over at twitch.tv/Loranity. Mostly Guild 2 stuff, but variety stuff too. And you can also find me on YouTube. And apart from that, I think I'm very boring. I don't do TikTok or any of those like those Zoomer things. I'm very boring.
The Zoomer things.
Yeah.
I'm a Zoomer.
I don't know what.
Crew things.
I don't know what a Zoomer is. I'm still confused about all the phrases now.
It's Gen Z, but boomer, but you put a Z in it. I know. It's revolutionary.
Proof knows.
Okay.
People really reach top shelf for that one.
It's because I'm a millennial? I don't know. I'm just about a millennial. I'm one of the first millennials. One of the first of the generation that's completely screwed. Okay,
yeah.
So...
I even more so.
Nah, you're fine.
I will
You're
be melting
sponsored
in
by
magma.
DX Racer now.
Buy DX Racer now, and you can contribute to the global population decrease.
Oh god! What a DX Racer doing? Jesus.
Did they sign off on that?
I don't think so. I'm gonna get kicked.
Is that their slogan?
I'm gonna get kicked
No.
just for that
We're gonna
comment.
be like, we're gonna need you to return all that, please.
The t-shirt, the free armbands, and the bag, the tote bag. Oh, the bag. So good. It's nice to see you, Laura. This has started really well. Zorik, Angry Zorik, how you doing, my friend? Are you good?
I'm doing all right, yeah. Yeah, I'm okay.
No migraines?
I'm lucky. I've never had a migraine. I've had headaches.
Wow.
But,
I never had a migraine.
relax. I have arthritis. I suck.
Then it's
I couldn't
then
get
it's
away.
fine.
I don't have the brain pain. I just have everything else is going to hurt every once in a while.
The aches of the body. That's fair.
Who doesn't, I guess, in this day and age.
Yeah, I've got really achy knees today. The weather's changed, you see. A bit of wind in the air. Knees are getting all achy. You know, there's a storm coming. Oh, sorry. You know that old adage. Anyway, I'm really old.
I think it's currently raining.
It is, probably.
It's a
It's
meme.
about to rain here. That's what I'm
Little
talking
Mean
about.
Girls reference.
Yes, chat live. Where are your aches and pains? Tell us while we talk to Angry Zork about what they do, where they do it, what times. Do you stream? Do you YouTube? What do you do, Zork?
Yeah, I do it all.
Oh,
But mostly Instagram. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm on
Instagram
Twitch,
Reels. Yeah.
YouTube. I'm supposed to be posting edited videos, but I'm weak. And I do live over there. I do live here on Twitch. And you can find me on Twitter. All that. So I play the games. Randomizers, Guild Wars 2, that kind of stuff.
Angry Zorik. Go and follow him. Do it now. Okay. Kroof is back and returning. Are you well?
I don't know what you mean. I've never been here before. I am in a new land and I feel very uncomfortable. But you know what? You got to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And I'm doing very, very well, other than an achy heart. But not because I was broken up with, but because I have a pulmonary embolism. But thank you, everyone, and for being here. And thank you for... thank you so much for inviting me back. I don't know when the next time I will be back, because I don't know when I'm going to get invited back, so I'm going to take these chances. But thank you so much, Debro.
Okay. You say that every week, I think.
Every week, it's customary.
Just keep inviting you back just in case, and then just so you can be like, oh, yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah,
but
that's gonna happen.
I'm Groove. I do a lot of YouTube stuff. I do some Twitter memes, and I stream here on Twitch 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. And a lot of good YouTube, I don't want to say good, but a lot of YouTube videos on the YouTube.
Your YouTube's doing good. It is doing good. Yeah. This is good. Good stuff. Awesome. Welcome back, everyone. Okay. First of all, ta-da! Living World. So basically, what we're going to talk about is on this episode specifically. I know if you heard the Lightbringers podcast episode, the last episode we did is not on audio, which actually maybe I should have done. Thinking about it, talking about the beta specs, but maybe I'll put that on there anyway. We did a playthrough of like the elite specs, and we talked about it. That's all on YouTube and everything else. This week we're talking about the news. There's loads of stuff out this week. There's like Living Story coming back, 9th anniversary, roadmap for Guild Wars 2 until pretty much February. Loads of preview stuff, alliances, DirectX stuff, skiffs and fishing. And then at the end, we're going to kind of might talk a little bit about the elite specs if we get to them. Because that could be a long time to talk about stuff. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the first thing, which is going to be... I mean, I don't know how much we need to really talk about this specifically, but...
For a solid 45 minutes.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Season 4 coming back, as well, obviously, continuing to come back. Are you all enjoying these Dragon season achievements and stuff? Fun times? Good achievements?
Yes.
Clara?
Yes.
Why are you enjoying them?
I've been having a total blast with these. It's just like something to do every week, you know? It's like a reason to log in. And the Season 4 one, the one which they did for Daybreak, it's actually bigger than the ones they've done before. It's got like bounties in there, there's renown hearts, there's like a bunch more achievements than the last couple ones. I've been having a total blast doing it. It even took me like 2 evenings this time instead of just one. It's just nice, just like content to do each week.
Totally agree. I think this one in particular, because there is so much more, it feels like I can log into Guild Wars 2 at least for 2, maybe 3 days and actually like achieve something that is progressing to a legendary amulet. And it just keeps people in those maps a little bit longer, just in case if people can't play on the Tuesday, maybe they have more free time Wednesday, Thursday. So there's going to be just more people in those maps for a little bit longer. But it's been very enjoyable this time around. Because, I mean, what happened to me too, I was like, I did the story one evening, and then the very next one, I started doing the open world stuff. So there was a decent amount for this episode, and I hope it continues with the other episodes as well.
Cool. Zarek, you're enjoying it as well?
For the most part, yeah. Going back, doing it, the story and all that stuff is fun to just refresh, and then, you know, the achievements... They're a bit of a chore to a vet like me, but like at the same time, legendary amulet, free achievement points, there's just a bunch of loot in there.
Sure.
And then I'm spending that time finally going back, getting those achievements I didn't get. It's a great time to go and, get stuff you didn't get done back in the day now, or, if you're trying to get your sky scale, especially, season 4, get that currency, get all that stuff done. So been helping people with that a little bit. It's been fun. It's a great thing that they're doing.
Okay.
I also get a plasma weapon cache if you want skins. I accidentally selected the wrong skin. I wanted the staff and I selected the sword after literally bashing the sword and how I don't like it and it looks weird.
Oh no.
So it was universal karma. It was the game telling me no. and there was nothing I could do at that point, so that was a bit sad.
That sword chose you, you know. That sword was
It
like,
did.
yes.
Maybe I'll have to use it now. Maybe I'll just have to get used to it.
I like the maps, actually. Like, these maps in season 4 are okay. It was nice to just kind of go back and just venture around. I was trying to find the stream where I did it, but there's too much PvP going on in that stream while I was just going around, like, basically, because I always do. So what I've done is I've not done the story instances, and I just do like doing the mining and the gathering on stream while I'm PvPing. So I do those sections of each map, and then I'm going to go do the whole story in one go. Like the rest, well, not the whole story, but like those episodes, even though it's going to be very broken up anyway, because it's not, it's not every episode. Just because, I don't know. It's like sometimes
in the way.
There was some of those episodes where I'm like, oh, wasn't that fun? And
Season 4 was pretty strong in general, so I'm happy to play this one.
Mhm.
I'm very interested to see how season 5 will feel, or the Ice Fruit Saga.
Or what they're gonna do.
It's been interesting, like playing like all seasons like in a row in a sense, and really noticing like how season 2 and then season 3 was a lot better than season 2 in my opinion, and now season 4 feels even better than season 3. It's kind of interesting to see like the quality just kind of like gets higher and higher and higher as we play for all of these episodes.
Krakatorik like was really awesome.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing, like sitting on the back of them, and like, all that was like epic. And then we know what happened. And like, I mean, I actually enjoyed it. I still, to this day, I remember when Lara was on, we were talking about this, and we were talking about like, I still remember Lara talking about the bubbles coming out. And I remember that being the thing. And I actually enjoyed it, but like, I think going back is playing them right next to each other, like going to the maps and stuff. It might be, like you say, it might be interesting to kind of have that comparison, which would be cool. And thinking about all of things, is there anything else anyone wants to mention about that? Like just Dragons, the whole reward system and everything else. I mean, it's pretty good, right? You can get a big 32 slot bag. You can get
the next one. I think it is.
It might be. I can't remember. Let me have a look at it again.
Get that inventory. Also, there are gem store sales.
There is gem store sale on Best Buy in America at the moment. Yeah.
Yes.
That's around this date, around like now, but that might not be lasting for that much longer. Where is it? Let me see. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the rewards specifically. But there's good rewards. It's worth it. Go do the stuff. It's free. So do it. You just got to play the game. Play the game. Get the rewards. The rewards are good. Get legendary trinket. Amulet, sorry. It's the trinket. It's all good. Okay, so that's good. And then we're going to go to the big whammy. And this is where everyone in Twitch chat can also give their opinions. And you can always give your opinions anyway. It was the 9th anniversary of Guild Wars 2 this week. Literally on the 25th, which is 2 days ago, which was the day of release, and a couple of days before that was obviously head start. So some of us got our birthday gifts before. I opened mine on stream and I made a video because I was like, every single time this happens, I'm going to stream and I'm going to, well, I actually didn't realize some really awesome mod let me know that the gifts were out, and I was like, oh, video. And it was like, yep, this is going to get blown up completely. And people lost their crap. People went absolutely out of their minds on this thing. I was just like, so why did everyone go completely the way they did, Kroof, about this?
No.
You don't know why?
I want to ask the general public, just because it's like, I feel birthday gifts are such a minor aspect to any game, really. It's not like the major content anyone is like on the edge of their seat for, but I think just historically they've given you pretty good stuff. That this is, in terms of the things that you do get, it is a slight drop off, but I felt like the reaction, particularly on certain sites like Reddit, was so like illogically like loud and almost flashy. It was very strange, and I think it's fine if if you say that you didn't really like this birthday, but I felt like it kind of became something more than that. And I was like, it's a birthday gift. Like, you get some guys.
It felt like such an important thing all of a sudden. Like, I know I've always felt like they were kind of boring, just like, you know, like fun tiny things.
Yeah.
One thing which I saw a lot of people talk about was how previously you would get the die kits on every single character, and this year you just only got one die kit like for your entire account. I never cared too much about the die kits myself. I can imagine someone who was really excited about the die kits being disappointed, but apart from that, I was kind of surprised to see the reaction as well. Yeah.
It's free stuff, is it not? It's just free stuff. And people, like, I don't know. I understand the title outrage. I get it. 2 committed titles, but maybe ANET didn't think you were committed enough. Maybe that was it. I mean,
right.
I'm sure they're going to change it, which they always do. They fix these things. It just takes time. But, like, overall, I mean, I think this just sort of shows how spoiled we've been in Guild Wars 2 when it comes to rewards, that when we do get a reward that doesn't meet expectations, a lot of the community sort of bashes ANET for not taking it to the next level. But I remind people that if you're like me and you have a lot of characters, when they're hitting their 9-year birthday, they're getting 2 birthday boosters, they're getting 5,000 karma, they're getting 20 spirit shards, they're getting stuff, 2 black lion statuettes, I can't remember that, 5 teleport to friends. So I had 5 characters hit 9 years old, so that's 10 birthday boosters, 25 teleports to friends, 100 spirit shards.
Oh, you made that many characters at the same time?
Yeah, I made my first 5 in like the first 10 minutes. On that early start, I was like, I had it all. Jebro, I had the notebook, I had the names, the class, everything. So as soon as the game launched, I was like making the characters. I was messing around in the betas to see like how I can make them look and stuff. No, you don't understand the devotion that went into those 5 characters. And then I never played 4 of them again.
Well, you got birthday boosters.
No,
I knew we'd be getting weapons and armor.
It's like the opposite of MMO Inks. I don't delete those characters ever, even if
sadly I have to wait another year because my very first account I forgot all of the credentials and information, so I'm a year behind technically, but very sad. I've been playing since the betas, but I had to start over.
So does this mean you are gonna get like super upset next year, like because this year you still get
the a very interesting point, because it's like it doesn't affect me right now, so I also didn't have that like experience of getting it and being disappointed. I felt like because I have to wait another year that I let everyone else react and then I couldn't inform myself. But you can guarantee that next year you will see Reddit posts from me. You will see. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Amazing.
Back in my day, I saw Noxie say it, but back in my day in Guild Wars 1, you got 1 RNG mini. Okay? That's all you got. And these kids today, they're out there going, oh, I got the same title twice with all this other stuff. They're like, look at my things. It's not big enough. But, you know, in Guild Wars 1, you could get the same mini on 3 characters with the same birthday. And you would just been like, I can sell them to someone, I'm sure. Then you go out there and you'd be like, 500G for this thing. Okay, 500G back in my day wasn't 500G today. I don't...
Inflation.
Platinum was worth something back in my day. Okay.
So, yeah, 500 gold now. Definitely different. I want a Quaggan statue for 10 years. So what do we think we're going to get for 10 years? I'm older than you.
Yeah, but I feel old. You made me feel old before we started. I think that's what happened.
So in light of this, next year will be 10, right?
Yep.
So there's, of course, I have my own ideas, but like 10 is a pretty big milestone. Do you think they would go something a bit bigger for 10, and what would that be?
That was my question. That was going to be my question. Okay,
the questions ahead of time.
Chris is now the host, so let's do that.
Sorry, that was on the docket. I did not read the docket.
Chris has now been here so many times. It's our Chris show.
Jevra and I, we just have the link.
Oh, no,
no, I
that's
retract the statement.
Okay.
You can. So yeah, what is there any particular item that you'd want to see for 10 years?
I can't even really come up with something that is like both just kind of fun and not just kind of giving everyone 100 gold or something. I don't know. I think
that might be a bit rough for the game.
I think I would be more excited about seeing them do like some cool event or something than the actual like birthday gifts. Seeing them do like I think they've done like anniversary live streams in the past, where they would get like a bunch of developers on and talk about stuff. I think last year they actually gave us the first End of Dragons trailer in their anniversary live stream. I would just like to see them do something like that and just do a bunch of developer interviews, tell some anecdotes and stuff. Just kind of celebrate it. I don't care too much about like which items we get in the game, I guess.
I guess for me, I was kind of thinking like probably the best situation in terms of granting an item to players would probably be like a mount selection where they make like one mount skin and then over the years you collect the others for like year 11, year 12. That could be pretty epic if they do like a full like birthday mount pack.
Yeah.
It would kind of it would show status that I think
have a cake on the head or something. Yeah.
A cake on the head. the Raptor, it's just like an ice cream cone.
Did they do an armor set before? Or did they, I mean, it's just always been weapons, right? I guess.
They did an armor and a weapon set.
They did an armor set, yeah.
And they did a rock chair thing.
Which was the was the 5 Guild Wars 2 5th year anniversary box. Let's have a look. See what they got for that. Dollfish to the rescue there. Luminous weapons, dies, birthday boosters, experience scroll, relentless title. Interesting. A backpack and weapon pack combo. So you didn't get the backpack. Is it because there's already been that many and you can yeah, okay.
Right, so you should have all the backpacks by this point.
Yeah.
Kinda.
That's interesting that they didn't do that then. They didn't replace the backpack, but they did essentially because they gave you a free cloak that was on the Black Lion chest or the Black Lion chest or the Black Lion trading company. So that was good, but that was for everyone, right? That wasn't for like just 9 years. That was just for everyone. That was quite cool, I thought.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I kind of prefer that because we gotta keep in mind that we're looking at like 9 years. So let's say they would have put the cloak in the birthday gifts, right? Yeah. Someone who just starts playing the game and thinks like, "Whoa, that's such a cool cloak," and then they go on the wiki and it's like, "Oh, you have to wait 9 years until you get it."
Talk about time-gated rewards.
Yeah, it's worth the wait. Is it worth the wait? I mean, I don't know. I can't like the cloak. It's a good free cloak for free. It was like, yeah, it's got 2 on it. It's the Guild Wars 2 logo. I like it. I would like to have a home instance where I can hang it on the wall, but that's not going to pull me out, is it?
Or a guild hall.
Next expansion.
Hopefully. I'm still hoping. I want that housing. I want that housing, damn it. I really do.
I mean, hey, there's a whole stretch of Kaining City. There's a lot of houses there.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Exactly. Hopefully they're still there, depending on what's happened. We don't know yet. I didn't mind their birthday. I think it was my video got like a lot of people started disliking my video because they disliked the birthday gifts. And I was like,
people do
really? Like, why do you do that? Like, it's not my fault. Like, I just made a video about it. Calm down. Like, really? Yeah, thanks for that very much. And I was just like, I just wrote underneath the video, I was like, I feel like people are just disliking this because they don't like the birthday gift. I'm just telling you what happened.
I'm gonna go like your video now. I'm gonna go like
everyone like bomb it.
Yeah.
Like what? It was just live as we got it, and I was like, I think I was just like, I didn't say anything bad. I was just like, this is kind of a
People's
thing.
reaction can be quite strange at times when it comes to free stuff and birthdays. Yeah, it was a weird moment for me.
I liked the little birthday cake's cool because there was a birthday gun kind of thing as well in the first year. Do you remember that? The birthday mortar kit or whatever it's called.
You shoot
Birthday
cake.
blaster.
Birthday blaster, that's the one.
Yeah, this year they gave us the feast, which is reusable. A lot of people don't know that, but you can put a feast down and it just sticks there.
Celestial stats.
Yeah, it's still not as good as, you know, the food you want to eat, but if you're leveling a character or something, just pop that down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a little bland in terms of the taste. They didn't put a lot of sweetener in that.
Sweet. Artificial sweet.
Do you prefer the birthday blaster cake?
Yeah, that one has a little
Right
bit
in
more
your face.
zest to it. It's got a little
cool
bit more
as well.
vanilla. They put a little bit more frosting on it, you know? It was a little bit more moist.
Like, I don't know, gunpowder mix with that kind of
Gunpowder.
Maxi in the face. Yeah.
This is now a cake baking podcast, I think.
Yeah. It's now Cake Boss. We are Cake Boss.
The dyes were extreme as well. Actually, the dyes were pretty cool. I like the dyes. The extremities of the colours, like bubblegum and all that, are quite bright. Luminescent.
Wait. It doesn't have 9 candles? The cake doesn't have 9 candles? How
Oh,
many
really?
does it have?
Uninstall.
Now,
Wow.
this is something
Never
to be
mind, I
upset
take
about.
it all back. This is a tragedy.
The reaction.
Why did they
is-
even send it out? I don't want another birthday. I'm done.
There was also...
It has 5? Oh,
Hey, adding 4 extra candles would do a large strain on your GPU, okay?
oh DX11's coming. There's 0 excuses. Literally unplayable.
Yeah, we could only give you 7.5 candles. That was just too much for the entire
candle?
player base. They also gave us these numbers. So 9 years of Guild Wars 2 has a legendary history and a bright future thanks to our global community of players who created over 16 million accounts. To celebrate, we've put together an infographic with some of our favorite facts about our adventures so far. This was quite cool. So like 16 million Guild Wars 2 accounts. You've adventured like together for over, that's a lot of hours. Like how many achievements, there's just so much. Oh my God. How much money has been raised for Extra Life? That's good to know, like $381,000.
That's a lot of money.
There's some interesting, like /GG used 60 million times in raids, Fractals of the Mists and Strike missions. Loads of fun. So that was kind of fun to see. Little extra fun thing, That's all good to know. No, that's good.
Some concept art in the background that we haven't really
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah, so there was.
Possible Kining City.
Did you
Nice.
see the Jade Punk concept art in the background?
Yes, yes.
It's actually very exciting.
And then there was this.
I want to go raving in Cantha.
Yeah,
Maybe you can.
the silhouettes, right?
Mm-hmm. People are thinking this is a little tease into the next character. Or one of the elite specializations. What could that be? It's just a greatsword, right? Isn't it? It looks like the greatsword from the Char one.
It looks like a
with the fire.
greatsword. And it does. I've seen people say it looks like Ryland's.
Yep.
It's really only the
Oh
serrated
yeah, I heard
spike.
people say that too. Yeah.
I don't really see it personally. I can understand it because the serrated spikes, but this looks like heavy armor, great sword. I don't know if it is an elite spec. I kind of hope that it's not, because I feel like they would just showcase the elite spec silhouette if they were going to do that kind of.
I don't think it's meant to be like that one, but maybe like one even before that. So there's even less like, I don't know. It could
I
be
think they
nothing.
intentionally put it there. I think
Oh,
it's
yeah, it
just
is
too
intentional.
intentionally where they're like, we need to like put another teaser. I think it is like an intentional elite spec tease.
I think it's Revenant. Yeah.
I just hope it's not the official art.
Oh yeah,
As long as-
I actually agree.
As long as it's
Yeah.
not, as long as it's more just like a, I can
Oh,
see
yeah,
like a
yeah,
tease in
yeah.
terms of leading people into that, like, oh, there's a mysterious thing.
Right.
It was intentional, but it would kind of be like, oh, we already saw this. So I want at least the artwork to have a different positioning, a different stance, something, whatever
yeah,
it is.
Yeah. No, I don't
I
think
agree.
that's what that is. I think that's just literally a silhouette for the sake of it being there, really, and it fits the kind of area, I guess, of the if you listen to this audibly, maybe go and look at the VOD. But we're looking at this where they give us all these numbers at the bottom. There's like this silhouette of a character kind of kneeling down with a great sword, like stuck in the ground. It looks like they're kind of, you know, pledging themselves, I guess, in a way. It could just be a willbender, you know, doing that.
With a great sword.
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, as we saw, it was better to use a great sword. So
it's true. It's true. So yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. That was alright. That was quite nice. Favorite mounts and stuff like that.
And those numbers there, I love that they put the 99.9% uptime for the servers.
That's a good one.
That is pretty ridiculous. There's not many MMOs that don't have zero downtime, pretty much. Well, almost, or 99.9% uptime. Sorry, which is kind of ridiculous, actually.
I'm trying to think of the longest rollback we've had, but I think that there was an 11-hour one. I don't remember what they did with the EU stuff and how long that took, but that was a while.
I think there was a World v World one, wasn't there, ages ago? I don't know, honestly.
I can't remember, but yeah, but you can remember them. That's the thing. Like in other MMOs, it happens so often. Like you're like, oh, yeah, it was sometime around here, but
a server maintenance is a weekly thing for most games.
Yeah.
In all honesty, the big thing. Okay, well, there we go. And then the big thing. We have an awesome, an epic, an amazing thing that is good to have and see a roadmap for Guild Wars 2 until February, which is when the End of Dragons Elite Specialization? Well, the Elite Specialization pack is coming up. That's pretty much what I look at it. That's pretty much how I see it. I'm just trying to find the screen so I can chuck it up. But literally fall and winter of 2021, which is like literally pretty much half a year. The next half a year is all planned out for us. That is pretty cool. How useful are roadmaps to all of you? Like, I mean, Laura, when you're thinking about, you know, the game and what you want to know and the news and the future, especially like knowing the expansion's been put back to like February, how important is this?
I think usually I don't even care that much about roadmaps, but usually like we kind of know sort of the cadence of the studio, right? Like we kind of know like, oh, every 3 months or so there's Living World episodes. Usually we kind of know what's happening, but I think in sort of like almost like a drought period like this where we're just kind of waiting for the expansion, I think this is so important, because they're just like showing us that it's going to be worth playing this game for the next 6 months, and that there's going to be worthwhile stuff to do, and that there's going to be exciting features to test out. I think this is such an important thing to just keep the community happy and like keep them around till the expansion comes out. And I also think they just did generally like a fantastic job with this one. It feels like they really tried to look at like all the different kinds of players that we've got in this game, and they really went like, we want to put something in there for everyone. You're a PvP player, we're going to give you some event and some elite spec stuff. You're a World Field player, we're going to give you Alliance beta. You are a PvE player, we're going to give you Living World stuff that comes back. I just get good vibes from this page. It's good.
Nice. Okay, cool. Zarika, you or Crib? Zarika or Crib? Who wants to go first? How do you feel about it? Good.
You want to rock, paper, scissors? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. There's a delay.
No, you both did scissors.
I mean, yeah, echoing everything Laura said. I mean, communication has been something that the Guild Wars 2 community has been very vocal about. And there's been times when it hasn't necessarily been as strong, but of course, with their reoccurring statements from the developers saying that they're going to be in touch with the community, they're going to be more outspoken and up to date and keeping people up to date. This roadmap, these roadmaps have been very consistent. We got them earlier this year, even last year we got roadmaps as well, and they haven't really fallen off. So it's great that they're continuing this as well. This is also just a great thing to keep people up to date. Of course, I've seen a couple people make calendars for these events just to have like it planned out, a bit more organized, and it's good information. Communication for the sake of communication can be very important, even if these things aren't necessarily new. They're just more so giving us the dates for these things that they've said they will be testing. So overall, really, really good to have a time frame.
Cool. Zark?
Yeah, I don't use roadmaps very well. It's good to know days and things like that and that kind of stuff, but I think this is more for the rest of the community, those who have gotten used to it from other MMOs, other companies being like, well, this is what we're doing the next 6 months. It's good to see ArenaNet get really in tune with this and what we're looking forward to, especially explain the start and stop of things and that kind of stuff in the post. But the save the date stuff is what I was looking for, alliance testing and DirectX 11 and that kind of stuff. That's what I wanted to know. And it's so great that they're telling us now. So, I can tell my family, like, leave me alone because I'm going to be in a room. I'm going to be busy, that kind of stuff. But in all seriousness, it's really great that they are telling us pretty much right up to the expansion. They went as far as the Lunar New Year for January 25th of next year.
Yeah.
So it's good to see they're taking us right up to the expansion. The only thing I don't think we're going to see on the roadmap, though, is like how they're going to present things and that kind of stuff, because I don't think you could plan that. And I'm more of like, tell me a week before it starts kind of guy. So it's really good to see that. September 10th, they have the fishing stuff going on, kind of thing. Well, that's not going to be on there, but we get to hear about that. So we're still excited. We're still excited about, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, we can plan other things and be like, yeah, I want to be on that beta weekend on September 21st or whatever it is, and that kind of thing. So people can look forward to that when they want to look forward to it, because we all know there's other MMOs and other games coming out. We're going to be flooded, and if there's too much content, we have to decide what we're going to play at that time and things like that. So with ANET doing this, it's just it's sort of just relieving the stress of what's to come, and you can sort of just sit back and look at a calendar now and just be like, yeah, I want to do that, or yeah, I know that's coming, but I'd rather play this or whatever. That's what's just great about Guild Wars 2. So yeah.
That's a good point, actually. And you say, about other MMOs and other MMOs coming out and releasing and other stuff. I actually think this is I still think that even though there is a lot of work for them to do and they've got loads of stuff to do on End of Dragons, I'm sure that they know this, obviously. But obviously they. But I feel like part of the decision is because there is a lot coming out as well. I think that's a tiny little bonus thing to it. I don't think that's the major reason why they've delayed it. But you've got New World, you've got Elion, you've got what else? There's some other big ones.
Final Fantasy 14 expansion.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
There's another one coming out.
There's all sorts of stuff.
Wizard 101 update number 500.
Isn't Lost Ark also coming out?
Yeah, Lost Ark, that's the one. That's the one. That Lost Ark is coming out at the same time as New World, pretty much, which makes no sense. Which is
it's actually not coming out where I live, which is very sad.
I'm looking forward to it. It is this. It's odd, and this is I don't know if this is a separate podcast I'm gonna have, but we were talking about how the influx of MMOs, and I was talking about this the other day on stream, and how it feels like with all live service games like Destiny 2. I mean, Destiny 2 is kind of like an MMORPG now, to be fair, anyway. But all these live service games like Division 2 and Division and all these other games that are just out now, even just mobile games and stuff where you can be online with other people, has just sold MMOs. It's actually just been this thing where MMORPGs used to be this whole separate other service which people just didn't touch, and now it's a very familiar thing to everyone because it's just online, and it's this live service where now everyone is oh, this thing's been around for so long, but I can actually do a lot of shit in this game. I can actually do a lot of stuff. I can't just build a clan, on Clash of Clans on my cell phone with loads of other people in PvP, I can actually, go in dungeon and like explore a world and do all this stuff, and I might not even need to pay as much money as I do on those games. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
Exactly.
it's weird that how this circle has kind of come around for MMORPGs, and Guild Wars 2 especially, as well as obviously we saw Final Fantasy 14, the WoW exodus because of obviously everything that's going on with Activision Blizzard. And most people going to Final Fantasy 14 because it's kind of the closer game to World of Warcraft, which makes sense. There's obviously arguments and opinions about whether or not which one's better, Guild Wars 2 or Final Fantasy, but they're very different, and they're, we all got our preferences. But I think there has been a massive. I mean, if in the Guild Wars 2 directory right now, in Twitch, there's 4,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Teapot
Big
gets
numbers.
a lot, but like Teapot is not always number one in the directory anymore. And that's actually like...
The king has been dethroned.
No, not at all. But more like, there's streamers who from like the World of Warcraft community and other communities where like, and there's like different people on there, there's Solo Frag on there now as well. There's like, what is it? Luxfoss, even like streamers who didn't get a massive viewership before, and like there's just people around in the directory now, like just in there, just hanging out, just enjoying everything else. So like, how are you feeling? How is everyone feeling about the influx of players? Have you seen like lots of new players walking around, or is there a lot of people kind of watching Guild Wars 2 to check it out and be like, oh yeah, what's this about? Like, how are you all feeling about that? Sorry.
I think that's it. I think there's a lot of people hearing about the game finally. I remember when Summit did it, he had 35,000 viewers.
Yeah.
And when he did other MMOs, he wasn't getting those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So Guild Wars 2 is this sleeper MMO that when someone finally joins the community, there's a lot of eyes on it. They're like, what is this? Where has this been? And I think that's still happening now. And I think the big reason is because Guild Wars 2 isn't really in your face with the advertising, which a lot of people push for, but it sort of made this silent community that's there all the time. And when like a lot of people have called this a dead game and things like that in the past, but the thing is, we're a very quiet community when we're quiet, but when ANET starts speaking up like they have this year, it gains traction and it starts to just roll. And they don't have to go put things up on billboards or throw commercials or advertisements up on Twitch.
Taxis,
yeah, and once they start
sorry.
once they start talking, the more the devs talk, the more Guild Wars 2 ANET talks in general. The content creators start talking, other content creators start joining in, like, what is this game? And then the next thing you know, you have this entire influx of either new players or players who tried it at the beginning or tried it around HOT, but I've seen a lot of players coming back to the game that have played. They just they haven't been here for 5 years. They haven't been here for, a long time. And now they're coming back and like, wow, this game's really different now. And I'd be like, yeah, there's been a lot of work put into it and a lot of work is coming. And so, yeah, and I can see it almost on everyone's numbers that their numbers have been going up. So it's really good to see those people not just go to the most popular place, but look around and see what's going on.
Yeah. I just wanted to put it on for people who may not have seen it. I don't know. I'm just like, just in case people hadn't seen it. I don't know why they did this. It was very random.
It was an idea. It was definitely a choice.
What did they do? I
kind of want them to do it again, just for the memes.
I want them to do it again.
Honestly, me too. I've been thinking, like, should I go out on the street and like just advertise Guild Wars 2 and like go up to random people and like hand them a flyer?
Ask them to say the pledge, just like in the taxi commercial.
The pledge. All you have to do is slash your hand and then put your blood in this jar. It's very minor.
Oh my god! What?
There's nothing else to this.
I still don't get what the idea was behind this. I don't know.
I don't think there was an idea. I think there was like some intern or something. It's like, hey, can I make a video advertisement for you? And ANET's like, I guess. And then they made this and they thought it was like parody. And so they sent it out. But after a while now, they're probably like,
I'm really interested to like, did these people have to sign like a release form?
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
How many people did they have to actually get who would agree to this to sign the release form? There's a lot.
So like, yeah, I just don't know what happened. I'm going off it now. It's just weird. It was just funny. I don't know. It was like, you know, they like to try things. Let's just say that.
Yeah. They are the company that tries to reinvent the wheel.
Wait.
The wheel gets to be a square sometimes.
We've got live news occurring right now. Someone just mentioned in the chat. Tulip said there's some art that's been tweeted out.
Oh.
On a Friday.
On a Friday? Wait, is this on Twitter?
Oh, it is.
Oh, let's talk about it. Yeah, we got the first news, baby.
Damn, slightly disappointed, but.
Wait, what?
Oh, it is literally what you said you didn't want, Proof. It looks really cool.
It's so cool.
But it's blue.
It's cool.
Wait. Let's look. Let's find it.
It's like red and blue.
I'm calling Revenant.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tulip. If you do not know what's going on right now, and we have just had literally, as the podcast is live, they knew it was happening. They were like, "Oh, the Lightbringers are on. We're gonna post it during the flipping Lightbringers. That's exciting, isn't it, everyone?"
This is a very exciting Lightbringers podcast
Oh my god! And Kroof is like, "Damn, I can't go and make a video."
I'm like. You better believe everyone here. You better go to my YouTube channel after this podcast, okay?
Quick, someone get a clip of us talking about it so we can chuck it out there.
It looks so good though. I love the colors on this.
It is blue, which is interesting.
Very exciting. That is
what I
pretty damn
point out.
hype.
The ground there, you see how it's cracked? That is the same thing that happened when Ritlock hit the ground with the Sohathan, and the ground cracked open the same way. So it definitely looks like a Revenant thing.
So Mist's like kind of warrior,
Mist breaking out or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So
I hope it's edgy. It looks edgy. I feel like I want that Guardian edge to it.
Well,
and they showed us the weapon.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the weapon as well. Great sword.
I mean,
but the great sword is like the main feature as well.
They show us the art of it.
Like the actual, like you can see the details on the great sword. That's the thing.
Is this like a great sword that we know, or is this something new?
It's
don't
probably something new.
this.
It's probably their elite specs weapons, and they typically are new.
Why do you think Prince Rurik June's games in chat? Is there a specific reason?
Oh, maybe like I can kind of see like the Ascalonian ghost stuff with like the blue stuff kind of.
Yeah, that'd be cool if they did bring Prince Rurik for the faux fire, but I don't know. I thought they were gonna go more Togo. You know?
If they do, then I'm switching mains.
I mean, we're all kind of just assuming it's Revenant, right? Could it be something else?
No.
I guess it could be Thief, but
we are not doing this as a Guardian as a Thief again.
Yeah,
we have learned from that. Like this is heavy armor. I feel like even more so than the
I agree.
One. Even the last one, I was like, that looks so much like heavy armor. And the heavy armor in the previous one, the boots were very clunky, similar to this one.
Yeah.
The gloves have spikes. They typically go with spikier, more dense silhouettes for heavy armor. So and the only one that doesn't have a great sword would be Revenant. So
yeah, and there's also this almost like headband thing, which kind of looks like the Revenant's blindfolds. Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, that's exactly. I wish I'd put that out before we had said that, and that's exactly what I wanted to say, Laura. That's it. The blindfold in the when it was reversed and it was the black, just the black silhouette. That was exactly why I thought it was Revenant, because of that fold.
Can I go on a tangent about something?
Please.
About Revenant? Absolutely. Why does Ritlock no longer wear his blindfold?
Because I have the lore answer.
He's got his prescription.
He's using the blindfold to block out a sense so he can figure out the voices in his head and to focus on that more. And then in Path of Fire, he's like, I got rid of the blindfold because I organized all the voices and the spirits.
Because he's got to see the fire.
Yes.
But it's a little bit more difficult to sense fire. I guess you can hear it, but you know, it was like, oh, I probably want to see that as well.
Oh, this is interesting. On a Friday, I was not expecting. I was expecting next week Tuesday because it actually would line up. It probably. I didn't think it would be this week because like it would have been a gap because there's 4 weeks or 5 weeks until the live stream. Next week it'd only be 4, so they could do 3-3.
They gotta get something for the weekend. With the festival coming on Tuesday, they don't really need anything. I don't think.
But then you drum up the elite spec with the festival.
I mean, this is pretty rad. This is pretty rad. Like, I'm okay. So it's a greatsword revenant, and it's like, what can it? Was there like a hero in Guild Wars 2 that's died, or like in Guild Wars that used a greatsword that we can think about, like that we can who this legend might be? Because that's the thing with Revenant. This is completely different. Like, it's going to be a legend, isn't it? Like, it's going to be someone. Like, who the flip is going to be? Sorry. Try not to F-bomb on there if I can possibly avoid it.
If anything, with the greatswords, I've seen a lot of people say Traherne. Personally, I don't really think it's going to be Turn, because it would be kind of strange to channel Traherne while standing next to him. It could be though. Yeah, if anything,
that's true, actually.
I'm truly like just getting there. You know, there's this moment where King Adelburn, he puts down his magical swords and he causes the foe fire and turns everyone into ghosts. That's just kind of the vibe I'm getting with like the blue stuff and like putting the sword in the ground.
Oh, yeah, with that as well. And that was where they did it, right? That was in like towards. That was in Ascalon, right there. Yeah, like kind of Zorik was saying as well.
So yeah, like Rurik and Adelburn. Yeah. That's my guess right now.
It's interesting that all of the art so far, like the Virtuoso showcased kind of their playstyle and the mechanic with the daggers. The Harbinger as well with the potions, the elixirs. Willbender's a bit more physical and straightforward, so it's like you can't really do much with that. But with this, it seems to be like, I don't know, it could be a sense of like opening up the mists and like creating breaches and portals in the environment. Could be a sense of like the overall gameplay, very physical, maybe cleave AoE damage, something like that. I do think it's, I mean, they did definitely specify the greatsword detail and also the art of like an effect. So I mean, they could have left that alone.
The whole portal idea is a good idea. Someone said portal as well in the chat. Is a good, I mean, it doesn't have to be linked, yeah, but like, I mean, it could be, it could be, I like that. Now I want that portal thing. I want a rev portal would be interesting. But then like, you know, I already feel bad for Thief because of Willbender to a degree, but like, I mean, like, you know, Mesmer's got portals, so is Scourge to a degree. So it's, and again, like audio wise, if you don't know what's happening, because I didn't really explain, they live at all, just got excited. That you could basically, so Guild Wars 2 Arena have been releasing silhouettes of elite specializations in Guild Wars 2 every so often, and then it led up to, you know, the latest elite specialization beta. We haven't had anything since because it's only been a week, which is fine, and we didn't expect this. And they've just released this image. Now the reason they have is because they sneaked it onto the whole, you know, 9th anniversary thing. They've released it in 1 week, like, you know, it's just a bit of an extra bonus, which I think is very cool actually. And I think, you know, and this is the thing, like, I like this for Guild Wars 2 because I've talked about Elder Scrolls Online being very, very, you know, strict and about their release schedules, and how that kind of almost to a degree is a bit boring as a player because you always know what's coming out. It's fantastic because roadmaps are great, and we literally talked about how knowing when stuff's coming out is cool. But every year after year, knowing exactly what's going on all the time is almost the opposite as well. Like, you want a little bit of a surprise, right? You want a little bit of excitement. And, you know, whereas Mo's, like, who used to be the director of Arena, of course, kind of, you know, ethos and way of going around Guild Wars 2 and content and talking about content in advance was always about surprising and delaying people, which I really didn't like, because it was always, there was never betas, they would never tell us about the information beforehand, we never got to give feedback, and we never got to really be excited about the game before anything came out, which normally meant we were disappointed because like we couldn't speculate, couldn't create content. Look at all of this stuff we've been able to do. Like since, like I just I have to give them credit for this. It's absolutely amazing how much content has been created for Guild Wars 2, like around the elite specializations, around all this stuff. There's been so many new YouTubers on like YouTube, like and streamers just around like creating content for like a silhouette, like an image. Like it's just ridiculous, like how much, and that's the thing, right?
You'd be surprised.
Exactly. It's absolutely massive, and like this is how important it was before. Like Path of Fire, it could have been so much better.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm sad that it wasn't, because you know I feel like there would be more people. There would probably even be more people still around now, but you know, I mean, I don't know what the numbers are now. It doesn't matter because we're having a good time with it anyway. So you know.
So two things. I do actually like. Previously on the stream, I was like, I wish it was a different stance because I feel like it wouldn't have been as impactful. I was worried that it'd be like, oh, we already
literally
saw
chucking
it.
a greatsword into the ground, Griff. That's pretty impactful.
No. In terms of like, we already saw the silhouette.
Yeah.
But I think I would like to just correct that by saying it is really cool that they show us the detail of the sword and have an extra like spell effect. That at least is something interesting. I would have been disappointed if it was just like a black silhouette, similar to Harbinger or Willbender. At least there's something else here, so that's really good. But additionally, the sword, I kind of am getting some like char. I don't know. I'm getting like a char vibe and also Tinger vibe. It kind of the swirls kind of look like the Legionnaire weapons a little bit. I can't really pinpoint it, but.
I've seen this greatsword.
It's interesting. We haven't seen it, but it looks very similar to other greatswords. Which I don't know. Is that good? Is that bad?
No, it's not bad, but at the same time, I've seen that sword too. I can't place. I know that from something, and I just.
It feels like base. It feels like base game Guild Wars 2 in one of like the early char areas, like that classically kind of greatsword.
If you look up the Legionnaire weapons from the char, they look very similar to these.
Could be that.
And it's, I don't know, with the Revenant weapons, Isha Elite Spec, they've gotten like all of their Elite Spec weapons have been a very consistent theme. Like, well, not Herald, but from the beta weapons, they had a same theme. Kala's shortbow was similar to that beta weapon set that we saw. And then with this, I was kind of expecting more of that dark black red color palette. So this is like a little bit different. It's like browns, golds, more like earth tones, which is interesting.
Legion is a little bit similar. It's just too fat. It's got too much.
It's too fat. But like the main hand sword with the swirls and the little dots and the swirls.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Is it a greatsword as well? I mean, it could just be a sword. And then it's like, you know, then is it Revenant, I guess, but like it has to be Revenant, right? It must be greatsword. It must be greatsword, Rev. It has to be, right?
I just gotta say, I just love the way that they're revealing this, like you said, Jebro. Like when they did the big live stream, so many people were saying, oh, they should have just revealed all the elite specializations in this live stream. I 100% disagreed with that, and I'm so glad that they're keeping up the pace as well. You know, it feels like almost every week we've got something to speculate about.
Yeah.
And then they just drop this breadcrumb where they put the silhouettes in like another image. I love this teasing thing they're doing where the whole community keeps like speculating like which weapon is it, which profession, which specialization. Oh, I love the stuff, and just as a content creator, it's fun because I always have something to talk about.
Too large to not. Yeah, exactly. And it spawns conversation. And this is the thing, like having it during this, like during the podcast as well, is like super hype. I hope they do it every week now, like, and do it during the podcast. And we're like waiting. What time was that? Was it 1 p.m. Pacific?
Probably.
Yeah, I feel like it was 1 p.m. Pacific.
Yes, it was 1 p.m. Very strange time. They're switching up the day and the time of the announcements.
Yeah, because normally it would be really early in the morning because of EU, right? And like other regions. Because obviously EU has like, that's the other regions. And that's why a lot of stuff gets announced so early in the morning Pacific time for them, like 9 a.m.-ish. That's interesting.
What do you mean? Everything gets announced at 6 p.m. in the afternoon.
Oh, for you, yeah. Oh, it's 6 p.m. for you, yeah. So yeah, because it's 9 a.m.
I wake up and I'm like, hi, I'm already 4 hours behind. I have to get to work.
Yeah, that's the thing. Right? That's it. Because I stream at night as well. Yeah, I get that completely. I woke up and just like, oh no.
Wake up, there's 15 messages on Discord. Did you see this?
Yes,
like, I just
that
woke
happens
up.
to me. That happens to me loads.
Give me 3 minutes here. I need to open my eyes.
Yeah. Oh, this is so exciting.
Okay.
Oh my.
Well,
next week, hopefully we get another one. But actually, no, they could be doing a consistent Friday now. Because if the live streams occur on Friday, they'll just release the teasers on Friday.
Yeah. That's
right before the live stream, they'll release the trailers for them. Like the 3 days before.
Yeah.
Very consistent content with the Elite Specs. I was actually in the different camp from Lara. I was kind of hoping that they at least showcase them all because I was kind of worried it was going to go like Heart of Thorns. Because with Heart of Thorns, it was consistent, but then there were like pretty large gaps in between the reveals. And I didn't really want to feel that. But now that we're in the release cadence, they're very consistent. And I actually prefer this. I will have to agree. I prefer that it's very consistent. We haven't had like 2 weeks to a month off where we don't know another Elite Spec. But we also had 9 months before Heart of Thorns released, so it was a bit longer.
Yeah.
It's pacing, right? It's all about that pacing, giving you the...
Yep.
Heart of Thorns, they built up so much hype for so long that when the bubble burst, it wasn't great. I think the way they're doing this now... there's a shorter time frame here, but it's enough. The way they're giving us content, it just feels like there isn't an emptiness ever, and so that pacing definitely 100% is so much better. Because we're gonna know every Elite Spec and all that stuff at the beginning of December, and then have to wait. We have to wait some time before we even touch it. But like at the same time.
Yeah,
we're not done. There's going to be other things happening still. We have beta testing for alliances and stuff like that. I'm sure it's going to still be going on. And we still haven't seen. We don't know what's going on in Cantha. We still haven't seen that stuff. So there's still so much they can do. So
someone just
these Elite Specs.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's awesome. Sorry, Lara, go.
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to say awesome.
I feel like it's just such good timing as well. Like going back to what we were talking about, like right before the tweet came out, we were talking about like how there's a lot of newcomers and stuff just like in the community right now, and like Twitch Guild Wars 2 is like way bigger and stuff. It's just nice that the whole community has got something to be excited about, and I feel like a lot of these newcomers are also sort of being caught up in this hype a little bit, that where they also see it and they're like, oh, hey, when I get level 80, then maybe I can get one of those elite specializations. I know, I'm just very impressed. That's what it comes down to.
Kind of wish some of this stuff was on the on the launcher. Like
a
little bit more, like the
agree.
Images and stuff. Like I kind of wish it was like. I know the blog posts and posts come up and stuff, but like the stuff off Twitter gets like missed out. Like it's not always on there. I think it would just be good to have like the browser featuring more. I've always thought about I mean, this has always been. I think there's always been discussions about this as well. Where you said before there was the ArenaNet partner program, there was like the ArenaNet Shoutcaster program as well. We used to have these conversations about, just between creators specifically, just about how the browser and like browsers looking a little bit more like inclusive of people's content, putting in like videos, like intro videos and stuff like that into the browser for Guild Wars 2. Just like being like, like Smite or something when you load it up and you've got tons of videos like League of Legends. I know the PvP games specifically, but like it would just be so cool to like feature arena partners and stuff like that, and like have these tweets, like, you know, they've just tweeted it out, and then the just like the launcher gets updated, and there's all of a sudden there's this image, and like someone just logged in and like, whoa, there's this thing, there's this news, this is so cool. They get excited and they just jump on their Revenant and start, you know, I don't know, role playing or whatever. Just get some kind of thing going. But I feel like that would be a cool thing for them to start doing a little bit more of. But yeah, I'm excited.
100% agree.
Yeah.
They did it on the forums. They put their Twitter posts down at the bottom when you're on the forums. If you scroll all the way down, they show their media posts.
They've got it on the side as well, depending on how your browser is. Yeah, I see it on the side. Their feed, their live feed, that's true. They have done that.
So they just need to put that on the launcher.
Yeah, that's true, actually. That is very recent as well. Yeah, because it's just like a thing they can easily do, right?
It's on the way, we just don't know it yet.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's on the table.
It could be. Yeah, advertising arena partners. Yeah, it's cool. There's a partner page. And this is things that people have already talked about. And I don't want it to sound like I'm trying to, you know, promote myself and like promote everyone else and just be like, yeah, we deserve this and the other. Because I just think that people, you know, it's more information. It's more information for people, really. It's more excitement building, the amount of content that's coming out. They feature some people, but it's very big creators, like a massive high end who have like these big constant events. I think that's very cool. And there is opportunities like for people to do it on the Guild Wars 2 channel. I think, I don't know, there could be more done. But I think now that Colin is back and we've got this duo kind of partnership directing wise for the studio, and Josh Davis as well coming back as well. I think that's a lot of this is to do with their vision of what they want to do for, you know, End of Dragons, similar as it was to maybe Heart of Thorns. I know Mo was still, you know, the main man for that, but I feel like Colin was the main face for Heart of Thorns for sure. And had obviously had a lot of influence because of his position at the time as well.
I mean, people still use the memes with his face on it from back in Heart of Thorns.
Colin's
So
a legend.
made a really big impact.
Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look at the rest of this post. That is exciting. Exciting. Oh god, so exciting. I need to pee. Sorry. It's just because I had a lot of
can't
coffee.
hold it.
Sorry. Yeah. This guy. Oh god. 10-minute break. It's okay. Not that
Well,
need
I
10
don't
minutes.
think people will be able to increase the contrast, saturation, and vibrancy on this to get an image of the face, but I don't think we really need to.
Yeah, I don't think you need to. There's no like, yeah. I mean, something actually. Someone just replied to me on a tweet was they were like NG, like robotic arms and stuff because of the Jade. You know, the constant image we keep seeing of this person with the cloak and the shoulder piece and then the robotic kind of arm. And like they just said, you know, that's NG, and I'm like, I wonder if they do that. I wonder if they just put this blatant image like in front of us with like fully everything, and it's just like that's been the NG. That could actually be a thing. It feels a little bit too blatant.
No, I don't think that'll be there. It would need to be a char just to keep consistency.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they would use that exact art, but I can see that character being the new elite specialization entirely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna have Icebridge Saga coming back. We've got all of the live streams. So there's gonna be, so I think Kroof mentioned on the 10th, there's gonna be the one for Skiffs and Fishing preview, right? And also there's gonna be the beta 2, which is on 21st of September, but then there's a preview. We've got 21st September, 26th of October, November, all elite specializations. That's really, really cool as well. Is there anything else like in there that you're all excited about? I'm literally gonna have to go and pee. I do have to go and pee. So like, start talking about it among yourselves. Like, are you excited about all of the stuff to come specifically? Tell me how you feel about. I'm only gonna be a minute.
Skiffs and fishing.
Skiffs and fishing. Yes.
I'm so excited.
And the new video as well.
The rushing water, it's
I'll be
just
right back.
so nice and clear and just shooting out.
I didn't even follow that. No, but seriously, now that Jabros, skiffs, and fishing are like the most exciting thing ever.
Yeah, no one cares about elite specs. We're just
Yeah, who
trying to
cares
play
about
games
that
forever,
stuff?
but like,
I just want to get on a boat and play music. They confirmed that that's possible. That is going to be my life after End of Dragons comes out.
your streams, your concerts are going to be lit. We're gonna have an
Exactly.
ocean view. It's gonna be on a
Water
yacht.
concerts.
It's gonna be so cool.
No, but
But-
we were talking about this a little bit before the live stream, right? They're gonna do a guild chat soon.
Yes.
Where they're gonna show skiffs and fishing. I think next
Mhm.
week, right? I
I
haven't
think
actually
they
seen this, but Kroof told me.
They said they tweeted out just before we went live that they're going to be doing a guild chat on the 10th, going over fishing and skiffs. Hopefully, they show a couple mastery things. And we were talking and saying that we also just want to see this be set in Cantha in the Shinji, because like we want to be able to get a feel of the environment of someone actually playing it, not just like a pre-rendered trailer. But the images that we have seen have been lovely. They've been so beautiful, and just I just want to go and test it out. I want to go and play in the area because it's so beautiful. But we've seen a couple interesting things from the trailer, like skiffs. They have like a speed boost and they have like a crystal thing to the side of them. So I hope they showcase a couple mastery things, maybe even some gameplay footage of how the fishing works. Hopefully it's going to be some sort of mini game. But I'm excited to see what they have to say about fishing and skiffs.
Yeah, that's sort of the big mystery almost, right? It feels like lots of people are sort of speculating like how is fishing actually going to work? We know it's going to be this huge thing, but we don't really know if it's just going to be like pressing F, or if there's going to be a mini game, or it's going to be like AFK fishing. I think we're ready to learn. I think we're ready to figure this out and have an idea of what this is actually going to be like.
My brain is ready.
Yeah, exactly, and it's kind of nice that we're going to find out probably on the guild chat episodes, I imagine.
Yeah.
The 10th. That's still like 2 weeks away though, and that's kind of disappointing.
Is it like the week before? It'll be the 10th.
It'll be the week before the elite specs.
Yeah, week before
Right.
the elite. So at least that's pretty consistent media coverage coming out from ArenaNet. I imagine we'll have to see a lot more. They'll probably go into a pretty decent chunk of detail because, like, the whole point of the guild chat is really to dive deep, mind the pun, into fishing and skiffs, but also answering questions. And a part of answering questions would definitely be like being transparent with how these things will work. So
Nice one.
I
Everyone.
agree.
Good job. I got myself a snack as well. I was like, oh, I'll find that. Also, there's a lot of building going on again. That's the top
Lovely.
down correctly. Yeah, it's always happening. So you're all excited? Is Zorik excited as well?
he's angry.
Angry.
I sort of agree with MMO Inks, is that I want lazy fishing, not Stardew Valley fishing. But at the same time, I do want it to be interesting.
Wait, what's lazy fishing?
You cast it out and then you catch the fish, I'm sure. Or maybe
you want it
keep
to be
catching
less
fish.
active?
Well, the harvesting and stuff is already that way, but I do want there to be something more in the masteries for sure. Like, it would be interesting if we're going to have to buy bait or get certain fishing poles or that kind of thing. I think I'm more interested in that kind of side of things when it comes to fishing games inside of a game. But I don't know. Maybe being on a skiff, there'll be things that affect fishing as well. You catch certain
Balance.
things while on the skiff versus being on the shore or whatever.
Well, they talk about like how you can get rarer fish and stuff in the video. I mean, let me just find the video actually because they do talk about it a little bit.
Those ocean rings were something. Remember, we had a little bit of a discussion on the LightBringers with like when Peachy was on. We're like, is that going to be a node? Is it going to be just like open waters? It seems to be a mixture of both. You do have open water areas, but there are rarer spots where you can get improved and better quality fish.
Rarer.
And then you can get like a puffer fish, but be sure not to eat a puffer fish because you will get severely poisoned. So
They also showed that when you catch the fish, you go to a vendor. It doesn't look like we're going to be doing the cooking.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting because that means you may have to catch a certain amount of fish for a meal or something like that.
Let's I don't know if you can hear it on the can you hear this people of the podcast?
I unmuted.
I do not, but I can unmute the stream, I think.
Okay, all right. We're gonna go over to the stream and watch the thing. I'm just gonna listen to it.
They say
and
yes.
Hear it. Stream can hear it, but you can't. Sorry.
Oh,
Oh well. It's fine.
that is fine.
I'm just gonna have the audio of that coming through.
You've mined, harvested, and foraged your way through the deadliest terrain. Now it's time to kick back and relax. In Guild Wars 2, End of Dragons, you'll learn how to gather a new resource. Fish. Always pack your fishing pole for quiet, contemplative moments wherever you find water. Keep an eye out for fishing holes to hook more impressive catches.
Yeah.
Your real adventures begin out on the water. With your personal skiff, you can venture straight to the best fishing holes, or just hang out with up to 4 friends. Haul your catch back to shore, and chefs can use it to prepare delicious new seafood dishes. Whether you're looking for peace and quiet or valuable resources, Tyria's fish will never be safe from you again.
I like how they're just casually like, Tyria's fish will never be safe again. Okay, all right.
I already go into the ocean. I already go into the waters and just smack them with a spear.
Those darn barracudas.
I know. Stop munching me. This is underwater combat. You will die.
It's definitely I mean I like the voiceover actually. I like the voiceover guy. I really like the voiceover guy because it's like making this thing like really serious, but it's fishing skiffs. And it's like, but it sounds just so epic. And with the way they've got all the crossfades and the the masking on the trailer, it just looks good. Like I don't know, it just looks cool.
How pretty that world is.
I
We're
know.
going.
Really Geek
We
says,
need to see it on Guild Chat.
Oh, look at this animation as well. I mean, I'm just gonna go back and pause that actually.
They
which I
did
really like.
lovely animation work for all of this, from the fishing to the catching of the fish. I hope that
There you
isn't. I mean, it appears in game. I hope it's not just for the trailer, but like when like the char holds the fish up.
Yeah, I've
and
literally
just-
paused it
it's
on that.
really
Yeah.
well animated.
The
Yeah,
char
yeah.
is so into it. It's like moving
Like,
around their entire
wiggles
body.
Is that a
Yeah.
char outfit as well? Is that a char fishing outfit? Like that's the thing.
I think it's just like one of the casual town clothing tonics.
Damn. That's unfortunate. Well, it could have been cool. I mean, obviously, and just to mention Really Geek's comment in chat, they say, so it said on the trailer, Tyria chefs can prepare dishes, which means we can cook the things ourselves. Yes, it looks like we can, yeah. As well as there was a vendor. I think it looks like there's someone in the city as well. Like, there was someone at an actual... I guess that's could just be like, like in anywhere when you've got the armor smith and you've got the people standing there and you've got the apparatus for doing that. That's probably just, you do it there with them kind of sitting around and you buy the extra things.
Oh, true. Make some chef friends.
So it's like,
chef friends.
yeah, the crafting station makes sense.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That little vendor in the light post in the background, just like these very minor details that pop up in trailers. I eat it all up.
Yeah,
Another pun, but I eat it all up. Give me the fish.
it feels like they put so much effort into it though. Like that little Asura just like standing there and cooking and stuff. It looks so cozy.
Oh my
Really
God.
adds to it.
I didn't actually see the Asura here as well. He's got the same animation for like getting a fish, like a little tiny. Oh, damn it! I keep missing the pause. Like it's the same animation for the Asura as well. Oh, yeah,
I mean, they do seem to be struggling at times, so I imagine there will be some interactive aspect to this. Like it's
you've
not
got to
just like a
lose the
simple-
fish. Yeah. I think this has to be different.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to. It's a mini game. Like it's with the skiffs, right? I think the skiffs. The whole point of skiffs is travel and fishing, right? Like there has to be. I'm still interested to see what skiffs are going to be like. Like just them
Me too.
specifically, like what is a skiff gonna? How are you going to control it? Like I mean, we haven't even talked about this much. But like maybe we can talk about it now as well.
I think the skiff is going to be more like a hovercraft type situation because just looking at it, it's not like in the water too much. But it also, I wonder if it's using that new Jade technology they talk about. So it's going to have more of that because when they start introducing skins like they already have given us, if you pre-order using Jebro's link. Anyhow, but if you.
All your links are going to be in the bottom of the video as well, description, like everyone's links.
But yeah, getting the skins and stuff in there, they can't really put it too much in the water because they're going to need that room just in case whatever skin they make. But the technology would make it seem more like a motorboat that's closer to a hovercraft of some sort. Are we going to have skiff racing? Are we going to have like...
Oh.
They should really...
go on your skiff or do you go on your skimmer?
I mean, it could be an adventure. For sure. And if it's not like a specific path that you have to go on, because it seems like to me these feel like they're on paths. I know, like, and it feels like they go to fishing holes at the moment, and it feels like they could be instead of waypoints. That's the feeling I have, and I don't want that to be the case. But that's the kind of random feeling that I have, just because of how. I don't know how. I mean, and that's the video. Maybe. I mean, maybe not, because they're kind of, as you see them, there's at different times when they've taken some of these shots, they're kind of next to each other. They're a bit staggered.
Yeah.
So maybe not.
They can like go in a circle. I feel like
hopefully not.
It'll feel more like, I do think it's a mount that you can kind of control, but sometimes I get the impression of like a roller beetle almost, in the way that the roller beetle moves. You have to kind of get that velocity, and it's not just going to be like sharp turns. It's going to be like you have to kind of like, and it seems pretty long as well.
Yeah. That's
so
true.
Maybe if you use your roller beetle a lot, this won't feel as bad, because I know the roller beetle is maybe one of the more challenging mounts to control and use.
Definitely one I use the least because of that reason. Yeah, for sure.
I wonder if the fishing is going to be more like when the game released. Remember when you could switch to a town set? Yeah. Like an outfit. You had the outfit, and then you lost your weapons and stuff, and you were in the town, so you could roleplay. And then they took it away, and I never understood why. But
Zorik obviously was doing that quite heavily.
I like going into town and just sort of shutting everything off of my character and being like, I'm a noble in Divinity's Reach. I thought it gave a little depth to the game. Maybe that's the way it is now, because it looks like fishing might be more of a targeting type thing. And then that means they could also change your skill bar based off of that fishing and things. Maybe it's like it's a whole different type of thing here, because they're showing the outfits and stuff, and it seems, I don't know, not very combat-y, but that means that would allow them to let you use abilities and stuff. I don't know.
Just standing on it.
Like gliding in Bloodstone Fin. You know how when you start to glide, you suddenly have a skill bar with those gliding skills? So it'd be something like that, maybe.
It's just weird because, like, you know, if you're on this skiff and like you're like, it looks like you can walk around on it as well, right? And then I know we're talking a lot about skiffs here. This is interesting. It is literally a brand new kind of way to travel in Guild Wars 2. It's not just a mount, is it? It's not just a glider. It's not just this extra. It's not even the turtle mount, because the turtle mount is a 2-player mount, yeah, of course, but it's still a mount, and it's just got this extra slot where someone literally, you know, moves around and fires a cannon. Like, you know, it's a brand new exciting thing. But the skiff is more than all of those things together, you know, because one, it's like, it looks like you can walk around on it, but then who's piloting it? Like, can anyone pilot it, or do you do it just because it's yours? There's skins, like Zorik says. There's whole new revenue stream for it as well, and that obviously that goes for the turtle as well, which is exciting. The turtle skins. If they don't come out of like the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtle van fun thing, I'm going to be very upset. They need to take advantage of that. Or just little bandanas. I don't know. That would be so sick. But like, I'm just excited, like, in what they could do with skiffs in the future as well, because we were talking about this ages ago. We were talking about boat battles and stuff. Like, can you imagine if there was like a miniature version of like Sea of Thieves kind of Guild Wars 2, and you've got like little people like just like firing and like just actual PvP battles with like skiffs? That could be so fun. I'm just thinking about all of the random stuff they could possibly do. That would never happen.
Well, we were talking about that with mounts a long time ago, and they gave us mounts or whatever whatever. Like, oh yeah, we could bring this into world versus world and have combat. And then it never happened. And then the one time they're like, okay, we're putting mounts in. We can see how that turned out. And so like, that's my worry, is that we're getting excited. We're getting to that hype apex that we're not supposed to be at, you know? We're in the clouds where ANET's like,
I like that place though.
Can you come back down for a second? Because we're going to tell you the skiffs can't leave the ground. And we're going to be like, but you could put a cannon on the front of it.
Or a harpoon.
But we have seen them talk about like even getting anything to move with people on it is the most like impossible thing until the programmers like change the camera, then this, and then they get the model to do this, right? So I really do wonder how it's going to work with like, okay, so you have people on the boat and that kind of thing. Is that just going to be as far as it goes? Because anything further, server crash or whatever. Yeah. But it would be so cool in World versus World to get on your skiff and to start firing at people. Yeah, it would be cool.
Oh, that would be key.
To have an adventure, to have an event. Fishing tournaments could be a thing. Who can catch the most fish with your team?
Yeah, they do that in loads of games.
I think they mentioned that as well. There'll be like some fishing events across Tyria.
It's loads of fun stuff like that. There's something in Elion which is really, really good, which I played recently, which is Eastern MMO, which is coming over to the west actually towards the end of September. Sounds around the same time as Lost Ark and New World. They literally like have an event on the side and they say this is coming up in like 2 minutes, like or whatever, and you get a certain amount of slots. And like you can go and fight this boss, or you can do a fishing tournament, and you literally compete with other people that just went into this random instance with you to fish, and you have to try and catch the biggest fish. So it's just about speed, really, right? Because it's a bit RNG-y, but like you get like loot and money based on like how good you are at fishing, because it's actually a little mini game and it's actually kind of fun. I was just like, imagine that in Guild Wars 2. That would be so sick. Like like a world boss. You know, you'd have different areas where there's different fishing competitions in different areas of the map, of not even map, but like world. Like there's different areas where you have to get to, like maybe even difficult places, or even just like base Guild Wars 2.
The Orion fish are going to be so stinky. Ugh.
Well, I think it should also be that you don't just fish up fish, you fish up items. Like
dead bodies.
Items. I mean, potentially it's like a bot, like things. Well, that's the thing. Like in New World, I mean, I don't know if you played it. Like literally, you could fish up things like old boots and armor and like coins and stuff like that. Like you would get stuff. Like you get a coin purse. Like that would be cool.
Like if you have a lower tier of fishing rod, you have a lower chance, and you'll get boots or something.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I can definitely see them doing like fishing events or something. You know, when they put mounts in a game with Bubble Fire, races just made a lot of sense, and they just kind of went for it. Yeah. Like, yo, we got mounts. What can we do with mounts that's fun in like an event? I can totally see them doing like some fishing tournament or something, like you said. That sounds fun.
They could also do dynamic events too. If enough people are fishing an area, maybe it sets off an event.
Oh my god, I bet like the Kraken mother to come out and like try to defend her babies, and you have to go underwater and do an underwater boss, and that gives you loot. I like these ideas.
Again, it's that potential, but what
big sea monster.
I didn't think mounts were going to improve Guild Wars 2 at all, and then ANET like shoved that down my throat, like you're wrong. So I'm not scared this time. I've wanted fishing in this game for so long that I'm sure whatever it is, it's going to be fantastic. And I'm going to have to eat my words, be like, oh God, a mini game. And then of course I'm going to be that guy sitting there, you know, on stream 12 hours. People are going to be like, have you just been fishing all day? And I'll be like, yeah, we're trying to get the blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely.
I'm actually going to be doing that. Like day one, I will be hardcore PvPing, queuing, like, but in between is going to be fishing. Like I'm going to be fishing.
I want to try this strike.
Better make a YouTube montage of you in PvP and then go back to you quickly with you.
Just raging. Like, oh my god, I can't believe these new players or these players just can't rotate and everything, and then suddenly silence and just like.
Just like, do you guys ever wonder why we're alive?
I mean, I'll do that
already. Get to the point! Just jump cuts.
I mean, it is exciting. I mean, we're getting excited about flipping boats and fishing, which is interesting. I mean, fishing is in a lot of MMORPGs, to be fair. It really is. Okay, so we've got all the elite specializations previews coming up. Loads of releases. We've obviously got the Return to Living World, 24th of August to September 28th for season 4. Then we've got Icebrew Saga from October 19th. Then we've got Festivals of the Four Winds is next week on the 31st of August. If you're listening to this later, obviously this might be in the past. We've got Shadow the Mad King. It's ridiculous how quickly Halloween's come back round again. I literally remember it as if I was running around the clock tower like it was yesterday.
This year's going by so fast.
It is. It really is. And then Winter's Day, we got Lunar New Year in January, and then expansion, and it's like, what? We got all of these events and stuff to look forward to, and it's not necessarily there is new content in there because there's new parts of the achievements. There's getting towards the amulet for the legendary amulet. There's all of the elite specialization betas, which is September, October, November. That's all exciting stuff. And then you got the DirectX 11 beta, which is actually, on the 21st of September, which is very, very cool. And then you've got 3 days later, you've got the World versus World Alliance beta as well.
It'll be really interesting to test both of those in terms of how DirectX 11 improves in the World versus World setting.
For sure. Well,
isn't that also around the same time as the next Elite Specialization beta? That is going to be a intense amount of weeks over there.
It's DirectX 11 and one of the betas is on the exact same day. Yes, that's the next one that's coming. And then 3 days later, which is 3 days into that beta, there's going to be the first World v World Alliances beta. So you're going to be able to play the Elite Specialization beta during the World versus World Alliances and the DirectX 11 as well at the same time.
That's a lot. They're gonna have to be watching the server schedule.
That's gonna be a hard week.
99.9% server uptime. That's when it ends, right there. 99.8.
It'll be really interesting to see what elite specs come with that, though, because you would maybe hope that those elite specs are maybe more tailored to World versus World.
I know what elite specs are coming. I've already called it. Hold on. Let me pull up my prediction. Somebody tell me what my prediction was. My guildies know.
I mean,
I told them. It's 3. Revenant was in there. Hold on. I'm
Is it even your prediction at this point?
I mean, Revenant is one of them, obviously.
Revenant. And then what else?
Assuming that's Revenant.
You would hope that they at least shine more in World versus World if we're going to be testing them, with DirectX 11 and a World versus World setting.
They wouldn't advertise that though. They wouldn't say that. They wouldn't be like, these are the 3 elite specializations.
No, but typically with each set of elite specs, we typically see 1 or 2 that are dedicated towards a more competitive zone, either structured or World versus World. Mm-hmm. But could you having a Willbender in World versus World? That would have felt rough. That would have been
That wouldn't have been fun actually. If I didn't. I mean, I don't know if anyone else tried it. It was just a bit underwhelming, really, I think, in quite a few areas.
Willbender was, I don't know, I felt like the Willbender, the idea there is great. I just don't think it's, I don't know, it felt clunky. It felt like it was a guardian trying to do thief things and was getting in trouble because of its heavy armor. The skills, the elite skills, just feel like weapon skills. And then having offhand sword sort of meant, was it sword? Is it sword? Yeah. Whatever the offhand weapon was, it just felt like it wasn't really doing anything for you, and it was better just to switch weapon sets, take a couple of the new utilities, and then take advantage. But even so, you just don't have the passive effects. You have to trait everything correctly, and then most of your traits are just meaningless. So it just took all that flexibility and made it very rigid to me, and just, I don't know. It was the flattest one. I didn't like Harbinger. I actually put Harbinger lower, but once I played that a bit more and went back to the Willbender, it just, I don't know, something about it. Just, I don't know. It needs to be fleshed out more, or maybe, I don't know what they could do at this point for it. But it was definitely the weakest one in my opinion.
Well, there we go. Let's transition over to this. This sounds like a good time to do this. And also, yes, welcome new players to Guild Wars 2. Ex-Mortal Wombat, hello as well. There's loads of new stuff coming. We've literally been talking about it up until this point, and we've been talking about it for all the past podcasts as well. So if you're in the chat now and you're live, like we're live, you can do !podcast. Jazz hands apparently is me. And you can go and listen to all the past ones. It's also on YouTube if you want to watch the VODs. It's also on Twitch VODs as well. But yeah, so like there's loads of stuff coming up. There's loads of betas to test things, bits and bobs. Nothing in the maps. We're not going to see that probably until maybe until next year, unless we like see it during the expansion. But we're talking about right now the elite specializations, which we got to test last week. And the elite specializations, if you're new to the game or if you don't know what they are, it's basically a new trait line or a new tree, maybe if you play World of Warcraft or anything else, which adds another way to play your character. And sometimes it can completely change up the way you play in most specific circumstances. So like, for example, if you're a Ranger player, like until Heartthorns came out, you could heal, you could like support in a way. It wasn't as good as when they added Druid, which was very much more, added a lot more support to the class, and in terms of like healing and just buffing and stuff like that as well. Although it did already have a lot of that. It just kind of adds this extra part to the class. It's like Scrapper for engineer. Like, I mean, Mighty Teapot just put a video out there of how supported Scrapper is, whereas like tons of us have known this for so long that Scrapper is just ridiculously good, and then they buffed up quickness as well. So like, people are just getting on this train, whereas like engineer players are like, we've been there for a while. And it's just an amazing class that has this really supportive spec to it. And it's not even necessarily healing, it's like quickness and like, these boons that come out, which is really, really cool. But yeah, so I love elite specializations for Guild Wars 2. Like, love it.
That's where the party's at.
Keen, very keen.
I brought us all some hand sanitizer because it's party time. You gotta stay healthy during these times. I also brought a solo cup filled with water because you gotta stay hydrated.
There you go. That's right. Laura,
but also still look like you're having fun.
Laura, what did you think of the elite specialization? Because Zorik's kind of talked about it a bit, but how did you feel about the elite specialization beta? Was there any of the classes you felt similar to in terms of like Zorik? Like, which one did you enjoy the most? Which do you feel were a bit lacking? Kind of tell us your kind of thoughts, general thoughts. Or...
I actually liked all of them a lot, but I think I have a bit of a different perspective on this stuff, maybe. I am not really a competitive player. I don't really play PvP currently. I don't really play Worlds vs. Worlds currently. And I play also PvE, but when I play PvE, I just look at what the super smart people do and I just copy that. I'm not much of a theory crafter myself. That's probably like the thing I do the least in this game, like making builds and stuff. Want to get into that stuff more, I just haven't really. So for me, I wasn't really like looking into how much I thought these specializations were like really good, or for example, like how they would play in PvP or what their DPS rotation would look like. I was purely just looking at how much do I like these skills, how does this feel, what do I think of these animations, these archetypes. And I was kind of impressed by every single one of them. Doesn't mean I'm actually gonna like playing them once they're out, because this was a very, very super like basic view at them, right? I was just like looking at like, hey, I like this skill 4. Hey, I like this utility skill. I just like how they all feel like very radical changes. My favorite was the Virtuoso, and it just wild to me that there's now a Mesmer which doesn't have clones. So even if like all the skills would be super clunky, I would just be like, well, it's a Mesmer without clones, and that would be enough to satisfy me. So as for Willbender, I think the thing with Willbender is that a lot of people were kind of expecting it to be like a thief. I was, at least, right? I was like expecting like a guardian that was like super mobile. But instead they felt a lot more clunky, like Zork says. They felt not like a thief, but they still felt like a more mobile guardian, which I thought was like interesting. I think Harbinger was probably my least favorite, not necessarily because I thought it was bad, but I don't know. It's just I like the concept of like having this shroud be like the complete opposite instead of like being super tanky. It's like something you use to really throw out some damage, and you get a lot more vulnerable. You get less health and stuff. It just didn't really click with me just yet. But I was just really enjoying all the skills on Willbender, like zipping around, like all the mobility stuff. I really like this one like dive kick animation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It does
that was
feel
cool.
a bit clunky though. I do agree with that. And Virtuoso was just by far my favorite. Just love like stacking up the daggers and then using them all. Again, I can't really tell if I'm gonna enjoy them long term, but so far I liked what I saw a lot.
I had the same
Virtuoso, that's
ranking.
cool.
It was
Same
not
ranking.
expected of me. I went through 3 cycles. Harbinger was my favorite
I
when
was
I
gonna say,
saw.
I thought that was your favorite. Yeah.
Harbinger was my favorite when I saw the trailer.
Uh-huh.
And then when I initially played, Willbender was my favorite. But by the end of the beta, I kind of like was solidified that Virtuoso was the most enjoyable, then Willbender, then Harbinger. So I went through like I went through the full ebbs and flows
All the
of the elite
emotions.
specs during the beta. But yeah, I think Willbender, the animations really are what is kind of like keeping it from feeling better. The clunkiness of the animations and the speeds and the timing of it all. But I think what angries you said that it was like it put you too much like in a box. It took away that flexibility. I kind of like that because like Firebrand and Guardian in general has a lot of flexibility already. And even though I love Guardian, I do think that it actually needs more restricting at times. So with Willbender, I like that it went really hard in that direction. But I think it's just kind of the building blocks right now. So I totally agree that it feels weird. It feels clunky. But I think everything is there. They just have to really fine tune everything in terms of damage numbers, cast times and animations, and all that stuff.
Okay.
And I played the PvE. I did PvE. I didn't do any of the competitive stuff either. And so most of my experience lines up with Lara's pretty right on. Virtuoso felt amazing. It just was a fun class to play. I didn't have to worry about illusions and clones. Instead, I just had to get my blades to just be popping up. Felt really comfortable. But then Harbinger, I just cannot wrap my head around how to play that class. When I was done, I went and watched somebody do like 45k, 48k DPS with it, and I'm just like, what is that? And I just, yeah, I just kind of
torment.
couldn't figure out that balance between Blight and what it needs to happen, but people in chat started helping me, and so I liked it a bit more. But yeah, I'm not saying Willbender's a bad class. When things were working, it was working. It was doing damage. It was staying alive. But the moment you don't, like, when you don't click with what those F1 through F3 skills do and when to use them and stuff like that, that's the moment you're dead. Your character just dies out in the open world and you're left sort of going, well, what did I do wrong? I think most of that class sits in the traits. And
I actually didn't realize that the passives only trigger on 5 attacks. I was under the impression that it would be every attack because the passive only lasts for a certain duration.
yeah.
So when I realized it was only 5 attacks, I was like, this feels really strange. Like, I think if they lowered it to 3 or 2 strikes to trigger, that would at least feel better. But it's like 5? Really? On a passive that you get for like 5-6 seconds? It's like you can't get a lot out of
It feels
those.
like they should be working with the utilities. Like if like you're using the utility for, you know, the spin kick or something, like free, like you say, for like 2 or 3 would be better because it sounds like a combo. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you can use the utility, and as that happens, the passive pops off of the virtue, and that would kind of be something where you're like, oh, you know, that works. And that was kind of what I was saying. And like, I think it was last week when we were playing, it felt like there wasn't really much of a link between different parts of Willbender. Like, you know, it's just, I think the virtues, if they felt cool, like they, you know, the movement speed, and it felt like in PvP specifically, because that's where I played it a lot. It was like, you know, I've got these mini ports, and I've got a little bit more access to like swiftness and like a little bit more evade, and I've got this offhand sword which gives me this kind of, you know, shadow step, which is pretty cool, and then I've got these really random kind of Street Fighter abilities where I'm like spin kicking and dodging randomly, and I'm doing this kind of, you know, palm punch, and then there's my elite, which is like, you know, if you pair it up with, you know, Judge's Intervention, is quite fun. But then I'm like, I'm never going to get rid of renewed focus, but it's still fun to do it in PvP anyway. And I don't know, there was definitely I definitely had fun with Willbender, but at the same time there was missing parts, definitely, for sure. There was definitely not enough damage at times as well. It felt very, very low damage. Because you had to, in PvP specifically, because you had to pair it up with something else to help you survive if you did get wrecked. But then I think it's like you should be speccing mostly into damage into that spec anyway. And I think as Guild Wars 2 players, in PvP and in content, we have always been used to just having this ridiculous amount of survivability as a really heavy damage class in competitive content, especially like in PvP and World v World, where it's like, you know, you're versus a trap ranger and all they've got is damage stats and they can just survive all day, and you're like, this shouldn't be this shouldn't be a thing. This should be like, you can do damage and you can't survive. Like, that should just be a thing. That should be your role. You can have an escape, that's fine. You should have some kind of mechanic, but not like, you know, live forever and just do all the damage in the world. But so that's kind of, I think, what they want to do with Willbender, but like,
you also can't kill things, so that's the problem.
They need to up the damage and make that a little bit more consistent.
The damage from Willbender came from that tempo stuff. So what I was explained is, if you can get the tempo right, so I think that's where a lot of us maybe felt the clunkiness. But if you do things at certain intervals, the damage starts going up. Because when I watched a buddy of mine on his video do it, he was slamming people for like 8k damage a time, and I was like, "Where are you getting that damage?" And he's like, "You got to use the tempo right. You got to get it set up." And then he was doing 3k burns at the same time, and things were just falling. And he's like, "You can't do that in PvP, by the way." But I was just like, I couldn't do that in PvE. I couldn't get anywhere near those numbers. I was getting like 2k, 3k sometimes. But to watch him just sit there and just understand this elite spec in like the short time we had it is just nothing I will ever master. I will never look at a build and be like, I know how that works. But to see the potential of the classes is great. But again, I think Harbinger came out on top when it came to DPS and just what you could do with it. And I think Virtuoso came out second with just, you know, do you want to hit something really hard? Because it's really easy if you just do this. And I think I figured out most of that, and that's why I enjoyed it the most. But Willbender, man, it may just be one of those classes like, sometimes the engineer was like with Condi builds back in the day and stuff, you had to press the buttons at the right time to get the right build and keep yourself alive. And I think it is something closer to that. And I don't play that way anymore. I play a Power Reaper. So I get in, I do damage, I hit it as hard as I can, and I just sit there and tank the damage. And it's a lazier build. And what Anet's asking here for Willbender is, do you know how to button? Do you know how to play the piano here? And I don't. So it's gonna be weak for me, but it's a good conversation to have, because maybe that's what they want from us, is to talk about the builds and see if that kind of feedback comes to them. I think it will build something better in the future, to be like, players aren't understanding this, let's try to get this across to them better next time. So, because we're going to have that second try at all of them, and I wonder if they're going to take all the stuff we're doing now and sort of build something from there. And hopefully they do, because Willbender, I think, can be something really great, but again, just felt so weak towards the other two.
I love Lethal Tempo. Oh, sorry. I just want to say real quick. I love Lethal Tempo, but that playstyle, you have to activate the passive, and the passive triggers on 5 hits. It's not just like, so long as you have the passive, you can build Lethal's Tempo. So there's a lot of like, I almost want to say that they were really cautious with Willbender. They didn't, because I feel like there could be a lot of power damage potential in competitive and in PvE settings, but I feel like they put a lot of bottlenecks on a lot of the traits and a lot of the damage numbers and how they activate, which I love the caution. And I wish other parts of the game did that more, like other elite specs like Reaper or Dragon Hunter. But in the current balance that we're in, that's not the case. So Willbender just felt really like lackluster.
And then when it comes out, it's gonna be doing 50k DPS. Everybody's gonna be dying from it.
Which I also don't like.
One specific thing that I really want to see is the Harbinger has this, what's it called again? Blight mechanic, where you lose out on some of your health, and you get this minus and then like a number in your health bar. I want to see like a UI thing. I want to like see that half my health bar is gone or something like that. I think that for the most part, I was really impressed by all of these specializations. It's just that there could be some things that are just polished a little bit better, and I think that was definitely one of them for me. I want to just see like half my health bar is gone and really get a feel for that. Just looking at the number doesn't do too much for me.
Interesting.
I'm surprised they didn't do the same thing they did in Guild Wars 1, where like if you were an elementalist and you did the overcharge abilities, it would gray out the max on your bar saying, this is your new max. This over here you can't achieve anymore. It would have been nice to see on the health bar that come down and then your health from there. So you understand, oh, yeah, I don't have a lot of health. But it did feel like it didn't make sense to have the whole thing filled and then get hit once and go down, because you're not understanding that you are, like, I think people understood they were losing max health, but as a necromancer, especially a necro main, and you're running 32,000 health all the time, you can take hits and then like, oh, I'm getting hurt really bad, I have time to react. But when you put on 25 stacks of blight, what ended up happening to me is that something would hit me for 3k and it'd go to half health, and in my mind, oh, I still have a lot of health left. No, it's just, yeah, for sure, if they change that UI, I do think maybe we can see how blight affects us a bit better and how it's maintained and stuff like that, for sure. I agree with you.
That could be a nice improvement. I just feel like it'll be really difficult because barrier is in the game as well. So the barrier UI could also just the health pool, but they also don't, it's not a direct damage.
They should do that. That's what they should do.
So because it's not direct damage, they don't necessarily want you to feel like, they don't want to imply that you are proccing traits or sigils because you're now below 50% health. It just reduces the whole entire thing. So that lower number is your 100%.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things to juggle here, but I think visually it would be nice. But then it's like, should blight just deal damage to you instead of just reducing your total vitality? Or do we want to stick with this just reducing max vitality situation?
They already bleed themselves, right? If they use like certain skills. I think that's something they...
Dagger 3 applies like 2 stacks of bleeds, but it's like,
Blood
it's
is
very
power
minor.
as well.
But,
there's some other ones.
The Signet does destroy half your health, which is cool.
Yeah. There's some stuff like sacrificing. I feel like if you're sacrificing your health, like, I feel like, yeah, the blight is like... feels, I'm going to say this phrase, I don't like saying this phrase, but it feels a bit half-assed. It feels like a little bit like, it sounds more harsh than I'm intending, because I actually liked Harbinger the most. But it feels like it could have been, it's cool because it's funny because, you know, we were talking about this in our raid the other week, and there's someone else who, because I played support Harbinger, when I say support, I mean like, you know, the quickness application and also the boons with the elite elixir where you and then when you can throw them out in the traits, there's obviously a way you can trade. So when you use your elixirs, it affects other people around you in a 240 radius, which actually in a raid is actually quite big if you're stacked, right? If you're not stacked and you're on cairn or something, like hardly anyone's getting the shit because everyone's like running around and they're trying to port about, and you're just like, where is everyone? And this isn't useful at all. And oh no, don't bring the dog. Oh no.
It's un dog.
I've lost it.
No.
Yeah, he wanted attention.
Un perro.
But the Harbinger is, I just, There could be something else with the blight. I mean, I know the
I
image is
agree.
like on green, like you turn green, and then there's like a certain percentage of your body. There's different like areas like you can see where your head is like kind of visible still, and the green glow kind of like goes over you. I feel like that look is kind of cool in a way, but it's also just a bit random. I think that's what they've tried to do when you're talking about Creef, the health bar like barrier. They've actually physically put it on your character. I do wonder whether or not people enjoy that look, because I know Photon Forge on Hollowsmith looks very cool. Blight on a Necro, I'm in two minds of it. On one side I'm like, this looks rad, and then the other side of it I'm like, I'm not sure I want to see this all the time.
Yeah, and we
like,
already get Harbinger Shroud changing your appearance.
Yeah,
But I would agree. Blight is strange because it does feel like it was just tacked on because they thought it would be interesting, but they could have just gone in the way of other elite specs where they reduce vitality or reduce your overall armor, as they've done with like Berserker, and not have this secondary mechanic. And if they, I think the major, I don't know, I don't say downfall, but they missed the mark a little bit. They should have incorporated Blight onto more of the traits, especially those Grandmaster traits, to really feel impactful. Those Grandmasters, they all kind of just do like a pulsing thing. If it was tied to Blight and you had to have a certain amount of stacks of Blight to activate those skills or unique effects, that would feel more Grandmaster and feel more interesting and kind of play into that Blight mechanic. But yeah, Blight, now that you mention it, Blight does feel like they could have just made it like your minor trait reduces your vitality by a bunch and reduces your armor, so you are more squishy. It's that spec that makes you more of a glass cannon.
well then like, and you can do that. They've literally done that with some of the other stuff, you know, in Guardian and Willbender, there says like, you know, you gain more concentration but you have less, you know, boon uptime, or not boon uptime, but less like healing or something. I can't remember what the trait is.
Yeah, if you're going to have a
Power or
stackable
something.
effect, play with it.
Yeah, sorry Lara, what did you just say?
Honestly, yeah. I do kind of like the idea of blights. I kind of like the flavor.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah,
In practice, is it really that much of a difference? I'm not sure, because especially if you're like gonna really like min-max the class, you're probably gonna like try to keep the maximum amount of blight up that you can. So
There has
doesn't
to
make
be
that
one.
much of a difference.
Yeah. There has to be like a big difference, right, Lara? That's what you're saying. Like, are you saying that if you're gonna have blight, like then there should be like this big, massive, like maybe not what it is now, maybe or last week, but like there should be this difference between like the base damage and then like is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah. I just wanted to feel that I'm getting blight. I just didn't really feel that as I was like stacking up these stacks that my health was actually getting reduced. There's just like this tiny number. You know, if I'm going in and if I would have a trait like Creef says, where you just get like less base vitality, I would kind of know. But now I'm in a situation where I don't really know how much health I've got. That's kind of what it feels like.
Would it be better to have like just your normal health and then just have the reduced? I mean, maybe you could do it like this, like, you know, and do it like barrier, but then you've got the number of your health, but like then the section of your health is just empty or is a different color, and then it's just like, this is your health, and then this is just this cross or something, I don't know, or a skull where it's just like there's no, I don't know. That sounds rubbish.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would love to see.
It's a bit more visual,
be
right?
applied to the top. You could probably do something with the bottom portion of it because the number is already there.
Yeah,
just add like a little graphic to like kind of approach up.
It's just
goes up.
Something that would be more, but be very much more visual because the game is just visual.
Swap them. Barrier applies to the bottom while decrease because it kind of
decreasing
makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes
now
sense.
We're like fine tuning, like if we worked in arena.
But no, like that's the kind of
this.
I like those discussions because then, like, you know, that helps. I feel like they watch this sometimes and there is some feedback that they hopefully take, and I think that's, you know, sensible to give like feedback rather than just say, you know, that was awful, that was terrible, God, what the F was that, you know, that was just bad.
The whole thing.
Like, just don't even say why you didn't like it. Like, don't even say anything. Don't give any feedback at all. That's the worst feedback. Don't do that, everyone.
I also think for Harbinger, I have a whole video where I fully redesigned Harbinger more than the other elite specs. So I go into much more detail, but I think one aspect about Harbinger that I think could be spec defining is if you could use elixirs in Harbinger Shroud with different effects. Kind of like Harbinger Shroud
Yeah, you mentioned that last
turning
week.
into your tool belt, where now the elixirs have a different effect.
That's a good
But they would
idea.
share the same cooldown, so you'd have to kind of be more strategic with how you use the elixirs rather than just a boon button that you
Yeah.
get boons and blight.
Mhm.
I think that is like the one almost like obvious thing that I would have loved to have seen come with Harbinger. And I think it would make elixirs more interesting because I've heard so many times that elixirs just feel like boon buttons. And like that's never the most fun play style, especially when you don't have to like, care about your timing. You don't have to aim them. You don't have to like wait for an opportunity to get the most boons. It's kind of just pop it and boom.
You said that last week, and I was like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And then when you said it, I was like, "Yeah, you're completely right. You're like with engineer, you do get these transforms. You get the stealth. You get the cool little, with Elixir S, you do turn small. That's a mini, like you turn mini." And I was like, I forgot about that because I don't use them in PvP. I just use the most offensive ones. I mean, Elixir S does get used by a lot of people, and I use Elixir X every day, but I guess I take it for granted that there are these big transforms that do occur, and it's a random one with the elite, and you turn people into mowers with the fifth skill, like with the fifth tool belt skill. That's a massive ability that you use all the flipping time in PvP. And yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I think turning into Shroud, maybe, or just having another way to turn them into a transform or something, or just changing the base ability of what it is and just being like, you have this extra part that grows out of you or something, and you do this, like just something like would be called very necro, because like blight is like whenever you look up blight on the internet, it's sort of like about a disease on plants and stuff and like fungi and like that kind of thing. And I'm like, well, what if you just got all this random crap all over you? I don't know.
It's weird because it's Zaitan magic.
The Last of Us.
Shouldn't this have been more? You can. I grabbed a screen grab, but when you use Vital Draw and Harbinger Shroud, Zaitan pops up above you. But like, yeah. So
Wait,
like, I grabbed it. I took a screen grab. I can find it on Twitter. But
I thought you were just with Zaitan.
When you use Vital Draw, a graphic of Zaitan appears above you. So I already caught. It's like a little bit of I'll post it in the Discord.
Isn't the Twitter?
A little bit of Zaitan lore could be attached to the Harbinger. But yeah, blight is weird because it's like associated with like plants and like living things.
Wait, was that a bug? I thought that was like you had had thingy behind you.
No, that's not a bug. That's like a graphic that when you use the skill.
When you go into it?
When you go into Harbinger Shroud and you use Vital Draw, the 5th skill.
Yeah. Is that the thing in the middle?
Above the character. And
then you've got the spikes for going around like you've got on the side. Yeah.
Well, that is like wow. Nice catch.
Zaitan bomb.
That is a good catch. That is like literally like I thought you were just with Zaitan somehow, and that you'd just taken it with them. Yeah, I'm going to show you now. I'm just getting it sorted out.
I am the Nancy Drew of the ArenaNet Guild Wars 2 community. I will scavenge and comb the desert.
Here you go. I'll zoom in. Zoom in. Oh, look at that. Zooming in. Anyway. Yeah, that makes it. I can't believe that. I never saw that though when it came out. I guess I'm just in PvP, just bashing things. But like,
I would see it. I would only see the eyes, and I never knew what it was. And then when I was like taking screenshots for a video, and I was like, I timed it perfectly, and I was like, oh, that's Zaitan. I hadn't seen it before.
Random. Nice one.
If there's one other thing about Harbinger, I really hope they change the icons for the elixirs. Like, there's so much incredible icon art that they've done for the new elite specs. I love some of the ones on Willbender. I really like the ones on Virtuoso. And then it feels like Harbinger just kind of got the same one recolored a couple times.
Yeah. I
saw some people with like color blindness talking about how they couldn't distinguish them properly and stuff. I hope that
said
build
that.
just get changed.
I put that on Twitter. I was like, someone needs to change this because of colorblindness. There's loads of people with colorblindness like who commented on that tweet as well. Yeah, it's not very accessible. They'll change that.
And I've heard people say like, oh, they'll just memorize the positioning of their skills, but like I have been playing this game for so long, and I still look at my UI. I still look at where my skills are, just for like.
Oh yeah, cooldown
to connect
stuff and
so
everything else.
I think it is very important, not for just like necro aesthetic reasons, but also for just like better visualization of what your skills are.
Yeah, I'm a skill clicker, so if I don't see the picture that I want to click, I'm clicking the wrong thing 9 times out of 10. So
that's fair.
I'm not afraid to admit that. All right, I click skills.
Do what you want, play the game you want to play.
90% of you in PvP clicking my skills. Imagine if I hotkeyed. Esports, here I come.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Still all of Jebro's builds, make them famous. Be like, oh yeah, I made those.
Yeah, just do it.
You go on Shiro Rev, so it's like the most complicated rotation. You're like, I'm gonna do this.
For step 38, now you're gonna hit your 6th utility yet again. But this time, I couldn't do that.
Amazing. Was there anything else in the was there anything else in oh good lord.
Where'd you go, Jebro?
The elite specializations. No, I was just looking at my Twitter for like just replies to the thingamajig. It didn't happen. So chat, yes, please, thank you. Are we done with the elite specializations? Are we good?
Talking about Willbender, talking about Harbinger, Virtuoso is fun thematically. I enjoy it, but the traits, the traits are probably my least favorite. It felt very bland, uninspired. A little bit.
I honestly found all of the traits, not necessarily the traits being like uninspired, but I noticed that they were doing this thing where it would very much be like, oh, the top row is the power traits, the middle row is the conny traits, and the bottom row is like the support traits. I wasn't really a fan of that.
Okay. Why is that?
I think it's, I mean, it's like nice and easy to memorize, I guess. But I like when there's a bit of a trade-off. It felt like it was so obvious, like, oh, if you're making a power build, like, again, coming from my PvE perspective, I just kept thinking, like, there's no reason you're ever gonna pick the conny traits or the support traits when you're playing a power build. I thought that was a little bit less interesting. I kind of prefer that sometimes there's like an interesting choice, but it very much felt like you can build it one of 3 ways, and I didn't see too many like interesting choices just in the traits.
Okay.
Completely agree.
I kind of
but
liked
still,
that.
Probably my favorite.
I kind of liked it. I kind of liked it for Harbinger, for the support lines. I guess maybe I was like, I don't know. I think I kind of like, because I know they wanted to try and do that maybe for new players to make it easier for them to track. Like if you want to be power, then Condi and everything else. But then I'm like, then it kind of makes your trait lines look a bit boring. Like it doesn't be much. Like there's not much. Maybe it feels a little bit more linear rather than you can kind of go everywhere and maybe make your character a little bit more. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I kind of get what you mean.
I like what you're saying, but because it's like with elite specs, I want them to specify into like one or 2 roles that they can do. But even still, like I want within the traits there to be a more interesting choice. Because with Virtuoso, it's like if you're going to go block, do all the top. If you're gonna do power, just do all the middle. But with Firebrand, even like the master tier, there was like elements of power that you can go in either directions. Like I could take this trait and still do my build. I could also take this trait and get a little extra out of this area. So
it wasn't so one way. It wasn't so strict, is what you're saying. Right. Yeah.
This is like boom, do that, do that. You're not really gonna like think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not a lot of flexibility in terms of theory crafting.
It's the same with Engineer, actually. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
I think that's what hurt Virtuoso the most, is that people didn't discover by doing bleeding in your power build, you could actually do more DPS power-wise. Because you chose a bottom trait, a top trait, and a bottom. I don't remember exactly what they were. You could build your blades up almost as fast as you were losing them without having to use utility skills. So you could use those utility skills to either keep yourself alive or whatever it was. But as soon as I discovered that when I was messing around with Virtuoso, because I was so comfortable with it, I actually decided, well, what happens in this combination? But my big thing was I can't get enough blades on my character. How do I fix that? Well, bleeds, 5 stacks of bleeds. But as of right now, I don't know if they're going to keep it this way. If the bleed stack drops to 4, then goes back up to 5, you get the blade. So if it goes 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, you get all your blades back. So that might be a design problem. But at the same time, if you have outside of the Virtuoso traits that your pistol does bleeds on crit and you're already running such a high crit, you just hit that 4 skill, all 5 blades back, and then you can hit them again or use them for whatever advantage, blocks, or whatever it is. So I don't know. I did feel like the traits for all 3 of the elite specs, they lined it up, but it's a lie to you. They're lying to you to do that. Because
Not particularly. I don't think
it's a lie. I mean, like, if you
what's
look
a
at
lie?
the other traits, you
Is it
may
like
have a
cake?
better combination. And by them doing that, it's going to make people not theory craft themselves, which can hurt them. But at the same time, I wonder if they're... Because I hate the dumbing down of all that kind of stuff. Because I feel like it does make a worse player. Because you're not going to read through the traits. You're not going to decide what's best for you. If you suddenly realize, oh, this is all power up here, I'm running a power build. You're just going to do the top line. Instead of going, I need to read these carefully just in case I wanted a different effect here. I don't know. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I do
know
feel
what
like
you're saying. If you make it so easy and so like that for every class, then there's an expectation it's going to be like that for every trait line anyway, and then people might just go for that. Like newer players and players that play the game more casually, and it's not. Then it's making it intuitive in a way, but not in the way where it's actually like that for every trait line, and people might just end up playing random stuff, and they'll just be like, yeah, top line's power, middle line's condition damage, bottom line support, and that's the same thing for every trait line. And I guess if new players come into End of Dragons, they're going to get that assumption maybe, but hopefully they read their stuff.
But even worse so, like the old traits don't do that. So like you come into the game and
do now. They've changed some of them.
Yeah,
Some of them.
but a lot of them don't. If you don't read through them carefully, you don't know what you're running.
Yeah,
and
you get a potato.
you're weakening yourself, and then you see that player out there dying, and you're like, what's happening to that guy? But it turns out he thinks he's going to get shrunk as an engineer.
I do that in
and it's not
PvP all the time. I'm just like, what is happening to that person so much right now that they're doing what they're doing? Because
I think they're going far.
yeah, I need to stop doing that because it's making
You're
me
not going
sad.
to get stability without that trait, and you didn't take it, buddy, and you're just getting thrown around. You need to come back. Come back.
Strange that you have to run a con.
They're lying. It's conspiracy.
I don't think they're lying. I think that people happen to stumble upon these like broken interactions because I cannot see that coming into the live game where you have maximum blade uptime. I do not think that is like intentional design because all the other grandmasters focus on blade generation, but they're so much slower. So like
Broken
it's so strange.
Perfection.
You say perfection, I say questionable decisions, but it is. Yeah, I think Virtuoso the traits need a little bit of a second pass, a little bit.
A second pass on the Virtuoso traits. There we go. I enjoyed them all. I think for what it was for a beta as well. I think if they had not put these in front of us first before bringing them out for End of Dragons, that would have been a mistake. That would have been. I am glad that they did that because I feel like we have now given them a ton of data that they can take away and be like, cool, actual people have used this in the live game, and it's not just our like alpha squad, and that's good. Because like they've used it in World v World and PvP, like maybe even people have gone into competitive. They've used it in raid situations. They've been playing it every day. Like people are on different regions, different ideas, different people with different ways of playing. They play DPS, they play support, they blah blah blah. And then hopefully they get all that data and they give us something good. Even I wonder if they're going to change I would like patch notes from the specific elite beta they've had to what they bring out in the last one. Now, whether or not they'll change them, I don't know. Obviously going to change them from now, hopefully, until, you know, end of Dragon's release. But whether or not they'll change them in the interim, I mean, there should be. There must be, right? I mean, that's their job, like their skills and balance. That's what they're going to be working on. So hopefully they're working on that balance, and there's going to be changes for the last one. But I would like patch notes. To see those changes.
At least patch notes before the 4th one. I feel like we'll get a full rundown of all the changes, big changes to small changes.
Yeah, they've still got like 6 months, right? Like they've still got so much time to keep tweaking these. I would not be surprised if any of them ends up being maybe not completely different, but just feeling very different. They can still do so much with this.
Now, I wonder if they are actively tweaking these next 3 sets based off of the reactions from the first. I wonder if they're like currently in a bit of a cram right now to be like, okay, so that didn't work in the last one, so let's do these, and then we'll have like completely different reaction to these 3, and that'll alter the last 3 elite specs. Or if they're like, you know what,
a bit too much like Will Bender.
Or like they fully could be like, we have these 9 done, we're going to just wait for all the data to be collected on them.
It's interesting because do you think that they put those out, the 3 out that we had, because they were the most polished, or because maybe they were the least polished and they needed more ideas?
All done. I think they're all done.
Not done, but polished.
When Path of Fire came out, they came out and said they did not like what Scourge was. They weren't sure they were going to release Scourge as it was for Path of Fire, and it shows that they probably should have tested it long before. I'm sure they
Whereas
did.
Now it's probably the most played in like every piece of content there is.
Yeah, it was far too powerful until more recently when they finally balanced it. They tried before, but people pushed back so hard. But yeah, I think these were the ones they weren't sure about. Maybe. And they were like, because Blight is a way different mechanic than we've ever seen. Willbender's doing things mechanically that other classes sort of do, but it's definitely different because
it spins around a bit more.
Yeah, and then and then Virtuoso, there doesn't feel like there's a whole lot with it. It feels very simple compared to the other 2, in my opinion. So maybe they were like, is this good enough sort of thing? And I think maybe the next ones we're going to get are a little more complex, a little more polished, and things they probably enjoyed making more. And then, of course, the last 3 are going to be like, yeah, we had these done 2 years ago. And then...
Yeah, because the last 2, they won't have as much time to really like think about and collect data and fix them. So these 3 were probably the most where they're like, we don't know how we feel about them. You guys want to give us some extra love feedback? So I hope the last 3... I feel like the last 3 kind of have to be really solid to like, because if the last 3 are like even more poorly received, that's going to be like, I'm going to feel bad because it's going to be like, oh, you don't have as much time. Like, and if you can just focus all your effort on those 3 before release, it's like, but we'll have to wait and see. Those last 3 are going to be really...
Well, we think 6 months is a long time, but it's not.
No, it's going to go by real fast, especially when they're like still working and like finishing the story, the maps, encounters,
it's still summer
music.
As well. There's still,
they're still recording music.
There's
so
a
like
holiday in between. There's you've got COVID stuff still going on. We don't know if they're in the office or if they're...
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of that actually would have been made. And to be honest, you know, something that maybe like and in terms of like mental health, because I always like to chuck a little bit of a mental health moment into thinking about these things, like the disconnection that and this is an interesting point actually, which I haven't made at all actually, and just thinking about it, the disconnection between maybe the classes in the disconnection in some of the classes we're talking about, you know, Willbender maybe more, Willbender probably, and Harbinger a little bit more, is the fact that they have been working very separately at home on these specs. On majority, they haven't been working in the office together. They haven't been able to, you know, peer over each other's shoulders, go to lunch, like natter about these things, work out, have these little interactions that are important in person to have. And I'm not saying that you can't have them online and everything else, because I think people do have meaningful interactions online as well. but not in the same way as like, you know, literally,
definitely not
oh,
doing
that's
that now.
cool. Yeah, like they're what? Sorry.
We're definitely not doing that right now.
I mean, but like, you know, and it's not as easy. Like in person, it's definitely more of that literal connection, and I feel like there is maybe some of that might have been influencing, you know, how these kind of specs come together. You know, there's that disconnection between the people, maybe in literally not being able to be present with each other, and then you've got that maybe within these builds. So it's worth thinking about all this kind of stuff and how. And I'm not saying this is going to be a bad thing. It's going to never negatively impact the expansion, but it's going to be interesting to see all of this content coming together, all these different things that's been produced during COVID. Like it's an expansion produced during COVID-19 and like being separated as much as they have. It's not just, you know, a living story and a map, because that kind of stuff, you know, it's a lot smaller. It's, you know, it's a map and a story. And okay, that's difficult in a sense to complete that. We know how, you know, Icebridge Saga went as well for a lot of people and how they felt about that. But then how is that going to work with an entire expansion? And that just kind of, yeah.
That's a really interesting point.
Good or bad, I don't know, but like, you know.
In terms of other areas of the game, I remember commenting this to my friend during the Elite Specs. I was like, it was either Harbinger or Virtuoso. I was like, I feel like this Elite Spec was made by 5 different people. It didn't feel like it was one cohesive group that fulfilled and polished and finished an Elite Spec. I was like, there are a lot of conflicting ideas here. And that was only in perspective of the Elite Specs. But there's other things like open world encounters, strike missions, the narrative itself, I think is the most kind of crucial aspect. I hope they were really having major team meetings, always talking and having that communication, because if the story falls flat, I mean, we can always say that no matter if the gameplay is amazing, people will still play it. But there are, for Guild Wars 2, a historic reputation, and there's a large player base that really cherishes that story aspect. So if the story begins to feel like spiderwebbed a little bit, it's going to be a little. I have faith that it'll be fine, but you know, there's these things that we do have to think about, and how COVID and separation can impact these game development processes.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily like, you know, I don't think that's a lot of their fault, because, you know, we've seen loads of stuff just go up the creek completely. You know, like CD Projekt Red completely lost the plot. You know, they overworked their staff. The game is completely broken, and they're only just getting around to finishing it. It's been out for what, half a year or more than that, right?
This could mean that the story might not be as complex. They could, for safety reasons, they could be sticking with a pretty like just linear, straight narrative, which I think would be smarter. But once again, we don't know if this situation has like greatly impacted their way of telling stories. But that's a really interesting idea. I think a safer bet, if I was in charge, I'd be like, we're going to stick with this one narrative, this one straightforward situation, and really just polish that.
I actually have a lot of faith in the story stuff that they're doing. It just feels like all the sort of the hints that they're giving us. To me, it just feels like they have got everything figured out, and they're just giving us these tiny bits, right? And they know exactly who's talking in that trailer. They know exactly who that character is, and this plot thread and this plot thread. I'm really, really excited about the story. But again, because I'm that excited, it's also easier to disappoint, maybe.
Yeah.
So far, like everything that they're teasing, just, you know, I think Kruv, I think you know a lot about this, because I think you did like a trailer analysis at some point.
Yes, I did a very deep dive into the trailer and the dialogue.
Like, I think everyone's just kind of like imagining just like huge, enormous things, right?
Yeah.
Because so far, honestly, the story, we barely even know anything. We don't really know why we're going to Canva. We don't really know what the situation is over there. It's just been like breadcrumbs, and we're trying to piece together this like sandcastle of everything that's happening. But it's gonna be difficult to live up to the expectations that they're setting, especially with these really impressive story trailers that they're doing.
especially because
I have faith.
was such a hard end. There was no sense of an epilogue, though we are getting some Taimi and Goric. It'll feel like
that was intentional though. They wanted to just get
Probably.
it done. They weren't right.
No,
they
they were
just
definitely
wanted...
like getting that done. But
Josh Davis, Colin came back. Like they were like, we're going to an expansion. F this.
But
Like they were just like done.
The narrative thread. In terms of containing the narrative thread, we haven't really had an elite spec end in this manner. Or not an elite spec, a season end in this manner. Because season 2 bled into the expansion very seamlessly. Season 3 into Path of Fire. 4 was a bit of a strange era because they didn't know if that was going to be the end of Guild Wars 2, but they kept going. So this also feels like a hard cap right now.
Yeah.
To see if there will be little bits of breadcrumbs in terms of a prologue before End of Dragons, because I feel like you'd have to really have a large setup.
I mean, we did. I mean, we had like. I mean, we had 2 dragons dying. I guess that's kind of the lead in.
What happened after that?
The bubbles, like Laura told us, like months ago. It's the bubbles. That's the link. That's the link.
What's happening?
But this is the end of the era of dragons. So whatever they do with the story, I have to agree that it might be a little more linear than what we're used to. But there's going to be those threads that spin off. As they've done with the previous stuff, but right now they're snipping the old threads off, right? So I'm sure when Colin came back, he's like, the dragons aren't dead yet. I'm sure that's probably a conversation they had to have. How can we make a game last another 10 years? How can we make this game last another 20 years? If we're gonna make an MMO in the long haul, the story's gonna have to change in a direction with enough story material that it can't just be these dragons dying, because we've done that. Dragon died. Then they threw in a god because they were so tired of dragons. But just imagine you get done with the god and then
end
you're
of
like,
gods.
There's
End of
four
gods.
more dragons. But that's just it. Whatever the story is, it's going to be the basis to whatever's going to happen the next 10 years or whatever. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of dialogue we're going to have to pay attention to, a lot of introduction to characters we're going to know for a while, and then we're going to lose some characters that we probably don't want to lose, but it's necessary to end that era of dragon, blah, 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 when there has to be now a bigger threat than just dragons dying and the world may explode because of it. There now has to be a villain. There has to be villains that make sense to the situation, that aren't just appearing because lore once said they were there. Now we're going to be introduced to villains that are probably new. We don't know who they are or why they're doing the things that they're doing. And we finally, as players, get to discover something that wasn't there ever, and that's going to be the story. That's going to be where they throw the rock, per se. But it doesn't mean that rock isn't going to land and have ripples and that kind of thing.
I thought you said the rock. I was like, that'd be random. The rock. Randomly.
The rock. Is that something people don't say anymore? In a story, you throw a rock.
I thought you meant the actual rock. I was just joking. Yeah.
Okay.
I know what you meant.
But anyways, it's going to be really interesting where the story arcs and that kind of stuff at this point. But I do think they have stated there's going to be a little bit of stuff before we get to the expansion that will help hopefully ease us into it, because I'm afraid that the expansion otherwise would just hit you in the face like, oh yeah, we're done with all that old stuff, and then you're just going to feel like this emptiness behind you. But I do feel like Taimi and Goric are going to set up whatever's coming, because that's the whole point of all this, going back and playing the Living World stuff, is to re-experience what we've experienced as a character, not as a player alone, but the character itself, going back and seeing what has changed or whatever, using our memories and the scrying pool to get us to a place where we're obviously going to discover some kind of trouble or something too interesting not to go after. Because we do know there's a 6th dragon, but our character doesn't know anything about it except that its name starts with an S. as far as they've told us. But even that could be wrong. They could change that pretty easily
Yeah.
at this point.
I mean, they
Steve.
changed Gleam to Vlast.
The
So,
Steve the Dragon, Steve.
Oh, I'm like just so excited to see what like a post End of Dragons world looks like. I'm like really excited just about like the story in End of Dragons. Seems really interesting with the Dragon Jades and everything. And I want to go to Canva. I'm super nostalgic about Canva, but we've never really seen like 2021 ArenaNet like create an entirely new continent which was not like established before in Guild Wars 1. We've never really seen them like, you know,
we
we've been
won't
doing
see
this
it
dragon
again
story
either.
for like so long.
so long.
Yeah, I wanna see like when you get all these creative people at ArenaNet and you get all of them together and you're like, you get to come up with a new continent, you get to come up with a new threat. It doesn't have to be dragons anymore. It can just be whatever the heck you want. I want to see what they come up with. So big excited for End of Dragons, but I'm kind of almost even more excited for what they do after.
I am too. I kind of want Dragon's Watch to be disbanded. Give me a fresh cast of characters.
Well, if there's no dragons, then what are they watching?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
This is the
Now
perfect
we're just
time
called
for them to
We're just called Watch now. We just
move
got-
beyond. Move beyond. Move through and beyond.
We'll be
to,
on
like,
God Watch or something.
Let's go
I
to
don't know.
Zoteka. Let's go to another continent on the globe or something that we've never talked about. So
They'll
I'm
have
in
to
the same boat,
rebrand a
Lara.
bit.
I'm
I
in the
mean,
same boat.
look at the logo. Like, you know, like, God, like it's a flipping dragon. I mean, you know, what are they going to do? But I think interested in hearing what you're saying, Zorik and Laura, about like, you know, the future as well in terms of the distant future and what they're going to set up with that. But like thinking about past MMOs, because I think recently when a lot of people heard End of Dragons, they thought End of Guild Wars 2, right? And then Colin came out during the preview, the big long preview, and said, you know, and I've clipped this and I put this in different places on Twitter and everything else, you know, this is not the end of Guild Wars 2, and if anything, it's a rebirthing and then also reimagining of where, you know, the Guild Wars 2 story arc can go. If it's completely you know, if it's completely dipping out of the whole dragon idea, you know, where we're going to go, they're going to be more stories around the cultures and the races interior. Are we going to end up going to brand new places we've never been before, like Lara's saying, you know, and exploring, and Creef saying, sorry, about exploring brand new places. But then they know, and there's an expectation, there's a definite feeling now that they feel like this is going to be around for, like Zorik said, another 10 years or so, you know, at least. And they know that the MMOs can do that because World of Warcraft has done it. You know, like all of these old MMOs before World of Warcraft have done it and are still doing it and are on cell phones and are on these new like devices. You know, there's the Steam flipping controller coming out. You know, what happens when Guild Wars 2 goes onto Steam? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're going to be able to play Guild Wars 2 on your handheld device. Like all this kind of stuff. Like thinking about the future, like Guild Wars 2 is totally doable, and World of Warcraft redid their graphics. You know, other games have done that; they've updated. Like if they can do that and implement all this technology, like DirectX 11, and then you know get into a place where they redesign some of the models so that maybe they can fit the armor better and it doesn't clip. Sorry, I just thought I'd add that on as a random side thing. You know, it's going to help the longevity of the game, and they have to develop that. And the art style of Guild Wars 2 is very friendly to. It's a bit like WildStar was better because it's a bit more cartoony, and obviously World of Warcraft lasted for a long time. And then they had to upgrade just because like resolution has improved since, you know, 360p or whatever it was. And you know, and because you have to just increase the pixels at the very least. But with Guild Wars 2, I think it was in that happy place where, you know, I think it still looks great today, but there is some points in the game where you're a bit like, that kind of looks a bit dated, and this kind of looks a bit dated, and then there's these other new tech that they've kind of thrown in, and you're like, wow, this almost looks like a different game to a degree, and that's good, and that's just the evolution of tech and everything else that comes along with design anyway, and art, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm hoping that in the future, there isn't just... And there is, you know, big influence with this, with the tech that comes along with it. So like DirectX 11, bringing all these different things in, and just I'm excited for that, as along with what you're all saying, the tech side of it, improving stability, getting World v World to a place where, you know, a lot more people can get involved with their friends in in alliances, and that can be changed up, like putting more attention onto the systems, because they definitely want to put more focus on World v World, right? So I'm excited.
Alliances. Yes.
It's almost bizarre how there's these two really huge features like Diatrix 11 and alliances, and those aren't even really part of like the expansion conversation, you know? All just like sitting here being excited about something that's just coming around the same time, hopefully.
Yeah.
So excited.
That's true. We haven't even talked about alliances. We haven't even talked about it. We can talk about it quickly. Like
a long conversation. Alliances, it's the one thing I'm looking forward to. I mean, the moment that they started talking alliances and everybody had lost faith, it was the one thing that was out of character for me. Every time ANET did something wrong, I'm like, they're killing the game. It's over. Salt, throwing it. But like when they started talking alliances, I'm like, yeah, you need this system. And I kept believing. I believed hard. I'm like, no, they're going to make it. It's going to happen. People kept naysaying me. And then I started to waver at the end. I was like, yeah, maybe it's not going to happen. But then I kid you not, like a month later, when they announced alliances, I'm like, salvation, just everything great about life coming to me finally. Like, I'm not kidding. I was going to quit next. I was going to quit Guild Wars 2. I'm going to say it. I was going to walk away, just do new content. Do the new content, living world stuff, that kind of stuff, but pretty much not really log into the game anymore. But now with alliances and all that, somebody told them, and they're like, well, Angry Zork can't quit. We can't have that. So they're like, what's the one thing he wants more than anything? And then somebody's like, hey, Josh Davis, alliances.
Chicken nuggets.
Okay, chicken nuggets, yes. But they can't feed me that because quarantine and that all pandemic going on.
I just have a really, really long spatula.
But anyhow, they came out with alliances, and I felt so vindicated in the sense that this game mode that we have fought so hard to get noticed, and they were trying things with, that we're finally getting a system. I really do, as long as they follow up and fix the game mode as a whole. What rewards mean, how do players interact with the game mode. But if they can get this alliance system to work, then we can probably look forward to changes in the infrastructure of World versus World that play better to, late night play versus, the most popular time, Friday at reset or whatever it is. And then alliances have been something that people have wanted since the beginning of the game. Just to get guilds together and pull resources and that kind of thing. And finally to have it in front of me, and even preparing for it a long time ago. My guildies can probably tell you, like, I've already talked to other guilds. I've already spoke about them like 2 years ago. I think it was the last update or something like that. Yeah. But I've never given up hope that it's going to happen. So now to see that, my brain full gears, smoke out of the ears, everything. I started connecting with people I haven't talked to in a long time. I'm like, hey, do you want to build this? Do you want to make something so when alliances come out, we can get that system in place, and that kind of thing. And it's great because it's not about playing the game anymore. It's about the community. It's about getting together with the people again, having conversations on Discord, and just, that social side that that's fallen away, that's kept me in the game. And I think that's why I felt like I wanted to quit, because I just didn't have that anymore. I felt like I was doing a lot of work, but not getting a return.
Join us in raids, mates. Come and join us weekly. Yeah.
Alliance would be great guild content.
Yes.
It's right though, Zorik. You're right. You're dead right about that. I feel like there is a lot of disconnection a lot of the time. I feel like you're right about alliances. Because that's why I stopped playing World v World back in the day. That was after year 1. It's because the server pride got lost and got completely wrecked. It was just annihilated completely. Like we had like Discords, and I think it was Mumble back then, but like we had so much communication going on, and websites of people like, with builds and like talking about our armies and all of this kind of stuff. Like there was so much that went on. Like it was so epic. It was like Warhammer Online back in the day. And I think obviously because Discord wasn't a thing, Mumble was just a literal like communication platform, you know, like TeamSpeak. Like that's what they are. They're not like what like Discord is, where you can have everything in one place. Essentially with Discord, you don't even need to have like guild websites anymore, which is kind of sad. But in a way, like it's just easier, because I remember, you know, guild websites, I used to love the hell out of those. You know, you'd have your own forum, you'd be talking on there, that's where you'd be talking, and then you'd go on to TeamSpeak and everything else for like your kind of events. But yeah, I agree, like the bringing that community aspect back is really, really important. And I actually think that goes along with fishing as well. Like fishing is going to bring a lot of that, even if just like small parties of people. Like it's gonna be on Discord, just hanging out, you know, just in like just an extra thing, you know. What did you say, Chris? Sorry?
I said life is a circle.
It is.
We always bring it back to the fish, to the skips, to the aquatic. Only if we had underwater content.
Maybe they'll even bring in some more guild missions. Who knows?
Guild strike
instruments.
Wow, fix the guild
Ooh.
panel UI. Will they do it? Man, that hasn't been updated.
59. Shall we see it? Probably not.
But yeah, I think we are probably good to exit from the podcastness. We're probably good to finish, unless anyone wanted to add anything else. I don't think there's anything else to talk about specifically.
That was a good one.
It was a good one, yeah. And like random stuff coming up
solid.
during as well. Brilliant. Thank you everyone for watching. Exactly. Okay, before we go, please check out the LightBringers podcast. Everyone who is listening, watching, hearing this, wherever you are, Twitch, YouTube, Anchor.fm, Spotify, iTunes, all the stuff. Make sure you also check out all of our podcasters' guests today that came in. We're going to go through and say that everyone's going to say a little bit about themselves quickly before we go, what they do, where they do it, the timings. Kroof starts off. Let's go.
Hi, everyone. So, like, I'm an Aries.
Oh, God.
I'm 20. I live in California. I love long walks on the beach. I never need to pee. My name is Kroof. I do a lot of YouTube stuff. I make videos on elite specs, builds, trailer analyses, gameplay stuff, guides, all that. I also stream here on Twitch 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And yes, I love the community. I love Guild Wars 2. Huge fan. All the stuff. I've loved chatting with you guys on chat. Here on the podcast, thank you so much for inviting me once again. It was lovely talking to you, Laura, and Angry Zork. It's so much fun. But yes, thank you, everyone.
Amazing. Thank you as well. Kroof, awesome to have you back once again. And that. I don't know what that was. Laura, tell us about yourself very quickly, and also where you do it, where can we find you, and all the things you do.
Thanks for having me on the podcast. I had a great time. I stream over on Twitch TV/Serenity almost every single weekday. It's usually like around EU evenings, or I guess like America mornings in a sense.
Yeah.
I'm also over on youtube.com/Serenity, where I do videos on whatever the heck I feel like. And I'm not on TikTok because I'm too old for that.
What do you mean you're too old?
I'm going to be your social media manager. We'll start a TikTok.
TikTok
idea for Guild Wars 2. I'm not going to lie.
Is there much of a TikTok Guild Wars 2 community?
No, but I'm going to spearhead it.
I'm on there on
yeah.
TikTok, but tell us more about yourself. Is there anything else you need us to know? Need the people to know to check you out?
Don't think so. I have Twitter as well, and I post pictures of my cat. That's honestly my best content, now that I think about it. Follow me on Twitter if you want.
Amazing. Thank you very much. It's awesome to have you here, Laura. We'll be back as well as Kroof in the future. Legends. And then finally we have Angry Zork. Tell us about yourself. What all the things, where you do it, who, with, on the days, and yeah. I was going to go somewhere else with that, but it's not that kind of show.
I just want to say thank you for having me here again. I appreciate it, Kroof, Laura. You're amazing. I appreciate it. Jebro, you're all right.
I know.
Watch your content. You can find me to Twitch and YouTube doing live stuff. I do randomizers. I play other games besides Guild Wars 2. Yeah, I know. I'm horrible. But I play a lot of Guild Wars 2. Big PvEer. Maybe one day World versus Worlder again. We'll see what the Alliance is. But that's pretty much it. I'm on the Twitters if you want to check that out. And we have a community Discord and things like that. But I'm the saltiest, angriest person on Twitch. And don't be surprised if I'm a little louder in other places. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, appreciate it.
Amazing to have you here, my friend, as well. And I am finally the last person, Jebro Unity, twitch.tv/Jebro Unity. Same on Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. Come and check out the stuff, the content, all the bits and pieces. Do it all. Also listen to the podcast on your favorite audio websites, maybe Spotify, iTunes, available on your favorite podcasting places as well. If you want to buy the pre-purchase Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons, you can do it in the description below or somewhere, and each one of us will have a link underneath where you can do that as well. We'll get that information to you. I'm gonna go because I need to go to the bathroom. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on the LightBringers podcast. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Vroom, vroom, Charlie XCX.